Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
WWE royalty, ladies and gentlemen. The Undertaker and the biggest fucking wrestling fan on planet Earth. Like I was saying before the podcast, if I did not bring Tony Hinchcliffe on this podcast, I would have never heard the end of it. No one loves you more than that man. Like, being right next to you right now is probably... He's tingling.
He's tingling a little bit?
It might be lactating.
This is the highlight of my life.
Oh, I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that, really.
But hey, man, thanks for coming on here. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it's an honor, really.
Oh, my pleasure. Honor to have you. So, what is it like being in Austin, Texas right now? You enjoying it? You're from this area, right?
Yeah, well, I'm from Houston,
Right.
but I've been here since about 2004. You know, it's crazy, man. We got this influx of people from California right now.
I know, we're trying not to fuck it up. What should we do? Tell us what to do.
You know, it's fine. Bring the money, leave the values, and we'll all be good.
What values do we need to leave behind specifically?
Well, fuck everything that fucked up California.
Yeah, but I think that's the government, man.
No, well, the government gets voted in, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't think we expected them to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one expected them to shut down all the restaurants and shut down all the gyms. Like, huh? And now that studies have come out, there was a new study that came out. It was in fucking Newsweek. I'm hoping that when Biden comes in, they're going to go, well, you know, we realize that lockdowns are not really good. It doesn't really help. Give people freedom and let them do. I'm hoping that this was a political thing, which is a terrible thing to hope for, that this is political.
That's where we're at, though.
Yeah, but that's where we're at. I'm hoping that it was all political and that they'll adjust once Biden
Yeah, I hope
is in
so,
office.
too. It's been nuts, man. It really,
It's crazy.
It's what do you believe, too, right?
Exactly.
You hear this, you hear that, like...
My buddy Brendan Schaub just went down to the Comedy Store the other day. He rode his bike down there. He said, dude, it's like the fucking Walking Dead. He said, Sunset is just a zombie land.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Tents and shit and weirdos and no businesses open and everything's just... It's amazing how quick things can fall apart.
Quick.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like that. Everything changes.
And the Sunset Strip's extra sad because, like, all the neon lights and everything is what kept it. When those things are shut off, it's as dark as it gets. Like, even the Comedy Store, it's just a black building with a bunch of red and white neons around it. But if those neons are off, it is just... It looks like nothing's there.
You gotta wonder what's gonna happen when everything comes back. Like, how long is it gonna take for things to bounce back? It could take 5 years.
Yeah. Or it could that, or just everybody lose their freaking mind and, you know, just go absolutely ape shit because they've been cooped up for so long. It's like, we can do what? We're good? Well, let's party. Let's go.
So, what have you been doing, man? What have you been doing with your life post-wrestling?
Yeah, so trying to figure out what's next, really. You know, I've done this for 33 years altogether. 30.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals, like...
You're walking around like you're okay, though. Like, a lot of the guys that hit 30 years, man, you know, like, I hung out with the Iron Sheik one night.
Oh, it's...
That poor guy.
Yeah, he's very entertaining.
Hilarious.
He's great.
Hilarious.
I love Sheiky. But you're right, you know.
He can barely walk.
He can't, you know, his ankle's fused. He can't walk. And, you know, I've already got both my hips, you know, Birmingham resurfaced job. So I'm, you know, my hips are metal.
This is incredible that they can do that now.
Oh, it added 10 years to my career, you know.
Oh, so you did it and then kept going.
So I did the first one. I did the left one in 2010.
Wow.
I mean, it looked like, you know, they filmed the whole thing for me. And, you know, my hip joint, the ball socket looked like a landmine had gone off on it. I mean, it was just potholes and I had spurs and arthritis. It was filled it up. And they'd only been doing them for about 10 years at that point. So they didn't have a whole lot of, you know, scientific study on how long these were going to last. And then no one was going to put it to the test like I did.
Right.
You know,
Especially with the amount of weight you're carrying around and then picking people up and slamming them. And
getting slammed and just all that jarring. So Dr. Sue out of the Hospital for Special Surgeries, he was just phenomenal. And he was so gung-ho because, like, you know, that was his baby. And, you know, he knew what I was going to do. And he's like, no one's put that kind of test on it. We're going to see. And I was like, yeah, we're going to see. And it's held up. I was in pain easily 12 years, every step of every day, was just, had that searing down the leg pain.
And you just dealt with it.
And you just dealt with it. It was just, it's part of the game. And, I just, thankfully, I've got a high threshold, for pain. And, but people that are in chronic pain all the time and you live with it, you don't even realize the drag it is on you. I mean, you get used to it, but you don't know how much until it's gone. And when I woke up from surgery and I'm pain free, it was like, this is a whole new lease on life. Remotivated me to do, things.
Right away you were pain free?
As soon as I woke up.
Wow.
After,
how's that possible? Don't they have to saw the top of your knee?
No, so
your
what?
hip off?
No, so here's what they do, and I wish I'd have brought it with me, but we're trying to pack our house up and move. But so they take the head of the femur, all right, the top of the leg bone. They go in there first and they clean everything off of it. They get all the arthritis. They shave all that off. They kind of bore it and clean it as good as they can clean it. Then they drill a hole in it, in the head of your femur. And then they take a titanium cap and they stick over the head of the femur.
Jamie could probably find it if you know the exact
It's
model.
called,
There
there it is, right there.
That's it. Jamie's on the motherfucking ball.
But that's money
As
right
usual.
there. Pull that up like that.
Birmingham hip follow-up. So that is what yours looks like.
So the thing with the stem on the right side there, that goes right into the head of the femur, and then the porous piece of metal that goes over the top of it goes into the acetabulum, and no restrictions.
Wow. No restrictions.
Yeah, I had to walk. I was walking.
On the left is the old way to do it, right?
So
Where you see A
you-
and B
they still
over there
do it
on the right-hand side?
Yeah, and they still do it that way. And if I screw these up, I can still have the total hip where they'll go in there, cut the femur off.
What would be the benefit of doing that, though?
Well, at the time, if I'd have done the full hip replacement, then I would have been finished.
Right.
Yeah, because it just couldn't have took the trauma that I put it through.
Right.
But the resurfacing, that way, I have absolutely no restrictions.
Wow. Yeah, so you have no pain now. How long is this supposed to last? Like, don't they say that you might have to get another one of these or do something with it eventually?
Eventually. They don't know. Like I said, when I did the first one, they'd only been doing them for about 10 years. And no one, no one had gotten a wrestling ring and get thrown around
right.
270 days a year on it to either, I mean, it's just.
Well, think about cars, right? You can get a 95 Land Cruiser with 300,000 miles on it.
Right.
Easy. And they're driving fine. Like, and those pistons are just going, and maybe it could just keep going.
Yeah, no warranty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
there's no warranty, but I keep holding off, and medicine keeps getting better and better, and
Yeah, no,
So-
it'll definitely continue to get better. I mean, it's just incredible that you can do that and then still wrestle. I mean,
yeah. And then when I did the other one maybe 5 years later.
same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Only thing then is I kind of had to learn how to walk again. I mean, I could walk, but my gait was so screwed up
From
dragging the leg and everything. So I had to. What they had me do is weird, strange enough, is start walking backwards.
Huh.
On a treadmill to correct my gait. Yeah,
weird.
Because you compensate when you have an injury.
Right.
You start to compensate and do things differently. So I walk differently to kind of alleviate the pain. So once I had no pain, I still had the habits of walking that way. So I had to retrain my brain and my body to walk correctly again. And
So the left hip was the one that was really bothering you for the longest time, and the right hip was bothering you less? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I didn't really have. It was kind of weird how it happened. Like my left hip was bad for years and years. I finally, I said, okay, I'm gonna call it a day. And my normal orthopedic surgeon, he says, I said, okay, doc, I'm gonna call it a day. And he said, well, shit, Mark, you should have called it a day 5 years ago. He said, you got more out of that hip than what anybody ever should have. And I was like, well, and so I'd come to grips with, my career was going to be over, and So I cut my hair off, so shit, I'm not going to need this long shit anymore. So I cut my hair off, and, I'm kind of sitting at home, phone rings. This is only about 2 or 3 days later, right? And Dr. Bird, he's out of Nashville. Awesome doctor. He's probably the leading doctor in hip preservation, like taking your natural hip as far as you can go. Just really good.
What does he do for that?
He'll go in orthoscopically, clean the bone off, clean the spurs out, he just, anytime there's, what starts to happen is you start getting that arthritis, and then the spurs, and it just, what happens is every time that you're walking, it's just chewing that up. So he goes in there, and he's actually designed his own instruments, that he uses to go in there and orthoscopically clean these hips joints out.
So he calls you.
So he calls me and he goes, "Hey, I might have another option for you." And I'm like, "Fuck, I already shaved my head." And he goes, "There's this doctor in New York that's doing this thing called the Birmingham hip resurface." He says, "It may give you an opportunity to make a decision that you want to make instead of having it made for you." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So I go to New York and I meet with Dr. Sue, and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I think you're a perfect candidate. Your bone density is really great," and he says, I think you'll do good with it, right?" So I was like, "Well, fuck, let's go for it, right?" I got nothing to lose at that point, and I wake up, I'm pain free, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, I'm walking
amazing.
that day.
That day.
Yeah, and it's just like
No crutches, no nothing.
I started out on crutches because I had, for a while I had an epidural in. So,
Oh, okay.
when I first tried to get up, it was funny. They bring in two male nurses, right? And, I'm 3 and some change at the time, right? So, and I've never had any, kind of side effects, but I guess I got up and, fuck, oh, wham.
Did they catch you?
They got me. I landed on the bed. So, the last thing I remember is getting up to go take this walk, and the next thing I'm laying in bed, and my wife's looking at me like, "You okay?" And I was like, "What? You passed out?" I was like, "Shut up. I didn't pass out." "Yeah, they got you up to walk, and you passed out."
Wow.
I was like,
got it.
"Holy
That's
shit."
crazy.
Yeah, I was so, I was so looped up. I was like, "Fuck, I feel good."
I'm just so happy that they could do that for you, that they could resurface both of them when you walk. I mean, because you would never know.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I feel I'm really blessed. But, now, like, if I could, obviously I'd still be going full steam ahead, but I just physically can't. I can't perform at the level,
Right.
and that's the thing with with when you use your body for athletic purpose.
Yeah.
At some point it's going to say enough's enough.
John Wayne Parr, he's a Muay Thai champion out of Australia. You know John Wayne Parr.
Yeah.
He has over 100 fights. He was trying to get 100 wins, but they robbed him on his last decision, on his 100th win. But he just got his hip redone, and he's throwing kicks again. It's crazy because I thought, like, he was saying that he needed to get his hip done. I'm like, well, I guess the career's over if you get a hip replacement. But he got a resurfacing, very similar to yours. I don't know if it's the exact same one, but he's like a couple of weeks later, he was like throwing kicks in the air. And a couple months later, this is him like right post operation. But if you go to his Instagram, Jamie, like right now, like if you could see some video of him, what is that one? Is he running? Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. You can run?
Yeah.
I mean, he was fucked. He was in pain for a long time. I mean, that's just nuts to see him being able to do that. See if you can. There's a video of him throwing kicks. He got a float tank too. Someone hooked him up with a float tank.
Nice.
Yeah, there he is, right there. I mean, this is only a couple. Oh, this is like a parody of John Claude Van Damme, a kickboxer. He's being John's a funny dude. He's always fucking around. But there's videos of him. Get out of this one. It is eventually, but it's gonna take too long. But keep scrolling down. There's a video of him throwing kicks. No. Like, scroll down. Right there. That's it. Exactly. So this is, I think this is 3 months post-surgery. And he can throw kicks. So he's got someone holding the pads for him, which is just...
Yeah, that's insane.
And that's that leg. That leg he's throwing right there. That was the one that he
There's so
focused.
much. Yeah, and there's so much pressure when he's hit.
And John's in his 40s. But he's a fucking savage to the end.
Yeah, it's
Still
crazy.
going.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Modern medicine, it's
Nuts.
phenomenal, man. It really is.
And from the fans' perspective, you know, they don't tell you when these guys are getting surgery and things like that. You know what I mean? And so,
What do you think happened?
well, we don't. What do you mean? No, we don't know when they're getting surgery. So my point is like, for example, you know, you're watching The Undertaker, right? Who's already been doing it years longer than all of his peers and all that. And maybe you could tell that matches not necessarily are different or slower, but they're different than obviously headlining an hour-long WrestleMania match,
I think
right?
you just dissed me. I'm not sure.
No,
I think you did. I
I
felt
think
it.
you felt that,
I
right?
didn't like it.
But the return on that is that people say like, "Oh, this must be it. We're coming towards the end of the Undertaker.
Right.
It's different than it's always been." And then he would come back from one of these hip surgeries, and it would literally add to the mystique of the Undertaker because all of a sudden he's faster, stronger, right?
For a while there, that was the template. I would, I would, at the end of my career, I had to kind of, almost like a fighter, you know, when a fighter goes into camp, you know, because I would get ready for like one event. For years, like I had an 8-year stretch where I averaged 270 dates a year. That's what a lot of people don't get that part of what we do.
They don't get the live events, town to town, flying everywhere. That is bananas.
Yeah, easily 8 years, 270 dates. With at the beginning of my career in the early 90s with WWE on the weekends, we'd do 2 shows a day.
Boo!
Yeah,
Oh my God.
So, you know,
who works harder than pro wrestlers? Like literally.
I would honestly, obviously I'm biased, but a lot of people really they don't get that because they see Monday nights or they see the Friday night show and they don't know that we're doing live events. You know, and when I came up in the early 90s, we only did TV like every 3 weeks. We would tape 3 weeks of TV, and the rest of that time we're on the road. It'd be like they're throwing darts. Like one day I'd be in New York, the next day I'd be in Denver, then I'd be in Miami, then I'd be in Toronto, then I'd be in LA, then I'd be in Dallas.
You must have been in a constant state of jet lag.
Oh, well, I say fucked up, really. Honestly, I mean, we had a motto: we'll sleep when we're dead, right? Because I mean, it's just you're young. You know, when you're young, you got that kind of energy and you can do all that and. You know, you're going out and you're enjoying your nightlife too, but
well, no wonder why so many guys have a problem with pills too, because you're in a constant state of pain.
Absolutely, yeah. Things have progressed in our industry so much. Like we're on the same standards now of Major League Baseball and the football. I mean, our drug testing programs, wellness programs, concussions. I mean, we are probably in some cases even better.
Why would they test you for drugs?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, so prescription drugs.
Right.
Just
see if you got a problem.
They started out early on, so we're talking 90s, right? So they didn't want people getting popped with, getting pulled over and cops finding weed in the car or whatnot. So that would be a fine. You'd get fined a little bit this time. The second time you get fined a little more. The third time you get fined and maybe have to go, rehab. But I think what they kind of figured out, I think they still do, but they didn't realize when they took that away, what are you going to do? You're going to drink more, and then you're going to take more pills, because you got to cope with the pain somehow. And so then you got guys overdosing, right? So everything's kind of led up to this drug protocol now. We have, I mean, we're talking about, we didn't have doctors with us at the time. We didn't even have trainers with us back then. Now we travel with trainers, doctors. There's all kind of protocols. You get your head, you get a dinger. It used to, it was like, okay, well, fine. I gotta go make a living.
Right.
And the same with injuries. Mm-hmm. Like you don't work, you don't get paid.
Right.
So, in that sense, our industry's come a long way. They really take good care of the athletes now.
But when you think of drug tests, people think about steroids.
Yeah.
That's, which is, if I was Vince, I would tell people, like, I want to make sure you're on steroids. I'd be like testing everybody.
Well, we've had a few different. We've had
Like,
a few
why are you
different.
not on steroids?
Yeah.
You're a pro wrestler. Come on, bro.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
And there was a time where everybody had to be like.
You got to be clean.
No, you had to be big.
Jacked. Yeah,
you had to be jacked, right?
Yeah.
And especially the guys, the 6'8", the big guys.
Right.
Like there was the stigma. You got to be 300 pounds.
Right.
It's in our head. Nobody gives a shit. They're interested in the characters and what you do on TV, but in our heads, like, fuck, I got to be 330 pounds.
They're interested a little bit, like, but if a guy like Brock Lesnar comes out and he looks skinny, people would be furious.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, look at the dude.
Even the guys that weren't huge had to do it to stay medium. You know what I mean? Like I was friends with Roddy Piper,
Right.
and he was telling me about it, and he's like, "Well, yeah, I mean, you had to even stay in the middle, to stay in the game, you had to be on steroids."
That was the wrestler's mindset, though. Now we're tested for everything.
They test for steroids now?
They test for steroids. They have for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
don't
Which I
understand.
don't understand because there's some big motherfuckers out there and cut, and I don't know how they did it. I couldn't get that way when I was on steroids.
Like, who's the biggest guy in the WWE right now? I'm going to pull up a picture.
Braun
see if he
Strowman
passes the sniff test.
Yeah.
Braun, I think he's about my height. He used to be a power lifter.
Let me see. Here you go, Jamie. Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah, he's 330
Come on, son.
pounds. Look,
Are we trying to say that guy doesn't do
I'm
any
just
steroids
telling
at
you.
all?
Hey, I'm
This is
just telling you.
preposterous.
This is what
They
before I
test
went-
him. They test him.
They
and then they
test
give
him.
him a grade A. Good job. You're
I'm
on
just
the right
saying.
steroids.
Look, I can only say what
Guy's fucking
what I've had to go
gigantic.
through. I've been there.
It's positive. It's possible, right? There are
It is.
rare.
It has to be because I'm telling you. So before I switched my contracts, and now I'm not a talent, now I'm a legend, I guess, or whatever they call it. I'd only work 2 or 3 times a year. This is at the end of my career, but I was still under a regular contract. So under a regular contract, you have to. This is if you've tested clean. You have to have 4 mandatory tests. 4 mandatory piss tests and 2 blood tests every year. Well, they'd get to the end of the year, like it'd be December, right, going into Christmas, and I'd get a call, like, you need to go to this such and such lab and do a piss test. And I hadn't been in the ring in 6-7 months, but they would look at their book, oh shit, we forgot about him, and it's under, you've got to have those piss tests done. So then, okay, well that's only 3. Sure enough, next day I get another phone call. Go back to the lab. So they would test. I'd have to go 2 days in a row to get tested to make sure that I had everything that I was supposed
Maybe
to have.
that's how they do it. Maybe they bang all their tests out early in the year.
Yeah.
Well,
test
no,
4 days in a row, and then just do steroids the rest of the
No,
year.
they're totally random. They just show up. The drug
okay,
testing.
so it's like you saw
You never
it.
know when they're going to show
Yeah.
up. I was home. That's why I didn't get tested until the very end. So
I just don't understand why they would test. I mean, that's like testing The Rock. Like if he's doing a movie, want to make sure you're not on steroids. I'd be like, what?
well, so
better get on
obviously,
steroids.
we've had some dark shit that.
Come on, son.
Hey, I'm just saying,
Come on,
brother.
son. Come on. He is the beef king. Come on, look at the size of that fucker. He used to be.
He used to be a
lot
power
thicker.
lifter. Yeah. He was 400 pounds at one time, and he's my height.
It's possible. It's possible to be that. Like, it's not bodybuilding size, right? Bodybuilding size is impossible.
Yeah,
That's not possible.
No, yeah,
Yeah. If you look at Ronnie Coleman in his prime, not possible.
not possible.
But that guy, maybe some Viking DNA in there.
I don't
He's
know,
a giant fucking dude. Maybe.
I know what the protocol is,
Right.
and I know, like, if anybody was going to get out of it, it would have been me,
Right.
and I didn't get out of it. So
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Did they test Vince?
Look, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Hey, I wish whatever he's on, I wish I was on.
Look at that guy.
Yeah. He's 85.
That's all he does.
Years old.
He's 70. He's 75.
Come on. Who the fuck has traps like that when they're 75? Like, if you didn't know that was his traps, you would say he's going to die. He has a
He's
tumor.
got some kind of.
He's got a tumor on his
Hey.
back. Look at the size of
That
him.
man. Let me tell you though, that guy. That's what he does.
He's a
That's
fucking
his.
animal.
That's his love is working out.
Who the fuck has ever been that big at that age? Ever.
He's phenomenal, man.
How old is he?
He's 75.
He's older than my mom. I'm going to send my mom a picture of him and go, I don't want to hear any excuses.
His mother,
Get it together,
His
Mom.
No
mom-
excuses, Mom.
his mom is 99. His mom's 99 and was still playing tennis in her 90s.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's got some, that's his trainer there.
Wow. He's shooting him in the back right now with steroids as he's lifting. It's just all day long. Just keep
He's-
hitting him.
He's
Bang.
the one guy he'll call me out of the clear blue and say, hey, you work out today?
Wow.
I'm like, no, boss, I didn't. What's wrong? Like, I
Jesus
don't feel
Christ.
like it. He's like, well, you need to get your ass in the gym.
It's amazing his enthusiasm after all these. Look at that picture when it says related images right below that with him screaming. Go to that one. Amazing enthusiasm after all these years in the game. It really is
Loves
pretty
it.
incredible.
You know, he is a workhorse. His company and working out.
It's kind of crazy.
I mean, that's his love, man, and
Well,
that's
you know,
his passion.
That's what causes success. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. It's consistency. But look at him there. He looks like he's about 30. And
Probably.
then look at him on the right. He's 150 years old and still jacked. It's crazy. I love it. I
do
love
too.
people like
I wish.
that.
Yeah, I do too. I wish I had a little bit of it right now. 'Cause I'm just,
Well, he's been lifting weights and occasionally wrestling.
yeah.
You've been wrestling. Well, what year did you start?
I started training in '86.
Wow.
Had my first match in '87.
Dude, I was just out of high school.
Oh, well, I mean, we don't need to
1986.
know
That
everything.
is crazy.
Yeah, it's
That's
been a long time.
Crazy.
And you know, it was tough for me. Like I'm not a legacy. I didn't have anybody in the business. I didn't know anybody in the business, and so usually you need somebody to open that door for you, right?
So when in '86, were you thinking like I've got to figure out a way how to do this, and you just started? Did you start taking like classes? Like how did you?
So I was in college. I was a basketball player, right? And my coach tells me, "Hey, Mark, there's some European scouts that are interested in you. You know, maybe after next year, they may want to give you a tryout, European pro basketball, right? But they all say they want to get you. They'd like for you to be a little bigger because of the style they played back then." Okay, so I start lifting weights. I'm 6'8", 230, 240, which is in the '80s is huge for a basketball player, but still. So I
was
start
the
training.
European League, were they just more physical?
Yeah. It was like Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambier, on the gas. I mean, they were just monsters. And so I start training, and I'm trying to, put on size and strength. And I met this guy in the gym who was like, every day I'd come in, he goes, man, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get in this wrestling. Why don't you do wrestling with me? And I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, but as I got into basketball and football and everything else, I kind of drifted away. And I was just like, man, I think I'm gonna go try to play some pro ball in Europe. And he goes, man, you should really try and do this with me, So I kind of start getting in touch with the product again. I kind of start watching again, and I got no clue. I think, kind of fall back into it again, right? I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's different. And I think one of the things that's helped me through my career is being a realist in what my talents are and what my talents aren't. And, I was like, I kind of started having these conversations with myself, like, even if you do make a team, I mean, how long do you really have? Like, and being 21 and sitting on the end of the bench in Lithuania just really wasn't that appealing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to weigh it up against what I'm seeing on TV, right? And I'm like, because you got the Von Erichs and you got Hogan. I'm like, well, shit, these guys are huge household names, So I'm thinking, maybe I ought to give it a try. So we find this guy by the name of Buzz Sawyer to train us, right? And I got to come up with $2,000. And I ain't got a pot or a window to throw it out of, right? So I get my oldest brother, to co-sign a loan, hock everything I own, and come up with $2,000 to pay Buzz Sawyer to train me to wrestle. Show up to his house, first morning of training, right? And Buzz was a good amateur, really good amateur, and show up at his house, knocking on the door, there's about 10 of us standing out in the fucking front yard, knocking on the door. Finally, fucking door swings open. What the fuck you want, right? And he's standing there butt ass naked. Right? Woke him up out of a he's just standing there naked. And everybody's like, we're here to train? And he goes, oh, fuck, is that today? Yeah, and so he gets another guy that was staying there with him. His name was Perry Jackson, who I'm friends with to this day. He says, go out there and warm them up, right? So he goes out there and we run and do everything they can do to blow us up and run us off, right? Totally gassed out, about 2 hours, just nothing but cardio shit, right? Finally, Buzz comes out. All right, everybody line up. All right, everybody get down, amateur position, right? So, everybody gets down. Fucking, he just stretches the shit out of everybody, right? Like cross-faced, just fucking, chicken wing, and just hooking everybody and rolling them around in his front yard, right? And that was it, right? Then he goes in the house. So y'all come back, a couple other days. So this goes on for weeks. And like every time I show up, there's like one less guy that shows up. They just like fucking, until I was the last one there. So I'm the last one there. I knock on the door. Fuck. He never answers, right? So I start peering in the windows. Fucking all the furniture's gone. Everything's gone. He's gone. He's gone to a different territory to work. He just left, right? Never learned any pro wrestling.
He was just teaching you wrestling.
He was just teaching me. Yeah, obviously we signed up for pro, to get to teach us how to pro wrestle. But he just came out there, and his whole goal, and this is the way it was back then, is they always try to take your money, and then they try to run you off. Most of the guys in that era were all shooters. They were all good amateurs.
Right.
And that was what they would do. They would take your money, then they'd hurt you, twist you, and try and get you to quit. And they got your money, and they didn't have to worry about it.
There's some wrestling trainers that were famous for like crazy physical training standards before they ever taught you anything. Like Carl Gotch.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure you know who Carl Gotch is. Carl Gotch, who is not just a wrestler, but he's like one of the legends of catch wrestling.
Yep.
And catch wrestling is like it's a lot like submission wrestling that you see in the UFC or in jiu-jitsu, but it's very like wrestling oriented. So instead of whereas jiu-jitsu maybe would be, I don't want to say it's less technical, but it's more violent. It's a lot of snapping people down and cross-facing and guillotines and 10-finger guillotines. And there's still a lot of, Sakuraba was like one of the legends of MMA, learned from another catch wrestler in Japan. And a lot of guys who, like Josh Barnett is another one, who's a big catch wrestling enthusiast. His style is all, and he submitted a lot of really elite guys. But Carl Gotch was famous for making you had to be able to do crazy shit. I think you had to do 1,000 body weight squats. You had to be able to do you had to do all these things before he would even teach you anything. You had to be fucking tip top Magoo before you would ever get into those ropes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the whole goal, is to run you off. Weed out the weak.
Yeah.
And then if you went through all of that and you were still there, okay, well this kid, let's see let's see if we can teach him how to do this. But there was that big weed out process, and that was I think Buzz's whole deal was a scam from the start.
Right.
He wanted the money, and he knew back then we had territories before Vince kind of took it nationwide. Texas had a territory, California had a couple of territories, Oregon, and guys just went.
$2,000 in '86 is a lot of
money.
money.
That's a lot of money for a kid in college on a scholarship. Yeah, I didn't have shit. I sold everything I owned.
So you're fucked. How do you go from there?
So I lived in my car for a little bit. Bounced in bars, collected a little money here and there. I just did whatever I could just to keep eating and keep training and did what I could. And I knew, so the Von Erichs ran Dallas. That was their hub, world class championship wrestling. And I knew that they were in the office on Wednesday, Like they would come in there and book the cards, and the guys would come in, get their paychecks and shit on Wednesday. So every Wednesday for about 8 months, I would go down there, and I'd sit in the lobby, and fucking guys would walk right by me, not even acknowledge my presence.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday for 8 months, I went and just sat there. And 8 months.
Did you ask to speak to anybody?
Well, yeah. So there was a referee back there. His name was Bronco Lubitsch. He was the only one that would speak to me, right? And it would be kind of like, "You here again, huh, kid?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lubitsch. I was, hoping maybe I'd get a chance to talk to somebody today." "All right, well, just good luck, And then I would sit there, and I'd walk by and try to, as somebody would come through, I'd kind of start to stand. Fuck, they never stopped. Just blew right by me. One day, I was right at the end of my ride. I was like, "Fuck, I'm not getting anywhere here." And Fritz von Erich, the patriarch of the family, right? The guy that owned the company came in, and he walked in and he stopped and he looked at me. And I started to, once again, I started to get up, and introduce myself. And he turned around and he went into Bronco's office. And he had a deep, gravelly voice, and I could hear him. And he's like, "Who's that kid out there?" And he said, "He's been coming here for months. He's just trying to get booked." And I heard Fritz go, book him Friday night. I want to see what he can do. He looks just like David, one of his sons that he had lost." I looked a lot like David, and that's how I got my first break.
Wow.
Because I was in the right place at the right time.
So had you ever practiced?
No, I was practicing. I was, but I'd never had like a real match.
Right.
I mean, I'm just, every little outlaw, independent kind of deal that I could get, I was doing. But I hadn't worked with top guys or.
When you say like outlaw, independent, so you were doing some matches?
I was doing some matches, but not professional, like not televised, not for a real company.
Right.
It's just like some jackass, okay, I'm a wrestling promoter. I'm going to go to the Knights of Columbus Hall and see if I can put 20 people in here. That's the kind of shit you would do. And then you have to go for no money. And then, you'd set up the ring, whatever you had to do. But the wrestling, the time in the ring was what was so valuable at that point, is getting those reps and getting that stuff. So they booked me. And I don't know if you've heard of Bruiser Brody.
Yes.
Yes. Tough guy. In anybody's standards back then, especially, is my first match, right? So now I'm a pretty respectful guy, and I'm sure in any industry, even when you a new comic, you pay respect to the older guy. I mean, it's just the way it should be, and the way it really was back then, especially. In our business, you didn't say much. You spoke when spoken to, kind of deal. And so I'm Bruiser Brody's my first professional match, right? So
wow.
I don't know. I'm 20, 21 maybe, and I'm in the ring and I'm looking at him. I'm like, fuck, I'm bigger than he is. This is the shit that's going on in my head, right? Now, I'm so nervous. Like, you couldn't have drove a nail up my ass with a sledgehammer. I'm so nervous to start with. But I'm looking like that stupid voice in the back of my head's like, you're fucking bigger than he is. Because Bruiser Brody was bigger than life, man. He had all that hair, and he was just fucking, he was just a man. He was an animal, right? So, bell rings, and I tie up with him, collar and elbow, and, I jam him up into a corner, and, he's, "Hey, kid, lighten up a little bit, kid, relax." And I'm just like, my body's like angle iron, right? I'm so just, anyway, so I go to shove him, and my hands, we're kind of hand fighting a little bit, and my hand slips off, and I kind of palm him in the face. The temperature in the room changed a little bit at that moment. So we tie up again, and I'm about to shoot him across the ring, and I shoot him across the ring, and I'm yelling like I'm gonna hit him with a clothesline. So as I tell him, clothesline, right? And he comes off the ropes like fucking like a bullet, like a 6'5", 300-pound bullet, and he kicks me square in my fucking jaw. My eyes roll back in my head, and next thing I know, he's grabbing me. He's like, let's go for a walk, right? So he throws me out of the ring and throws me down on this table. And this place called the Sportatorium in Dallas. They've torn it down now. But they had the folding chairs they were metal, but then they had the wood slats. Fuck. He takes this chair as hard as he, and we're not talking about the metal folding chairs, which hurt enough in their own right when you get hit enough times with them. He swings as hard as he can. This chair just fucking explodes. Wood slats fly all over the place. I'm thinking I'd never been hit so hard, man. I'd been hit, but I'd never been hit that hard by anything at that point. He throws me back in the ring, ties me all up in the ropes, right? I'm greener than shit, don't know what the hell I'm doing. And he just starts hitting the other ropes and coming and just kicking me as hard as he can in the head. Wow.
Oh, my God.
And I deserved it. He was giving me a lesson that I needed to learn. Anyway, a couple of minutes later, boom, he pins me. And, that was it. We go back to the dressing room, and I'm like, holy shit, I just got the shit kicked out of me. And I went over to him. I was like, Mr. Brody, thank you. He said, all right, kid, just, relax next time, will you? And I was like, yes, sir. I just appreciate, being in the ring with you. And, went back off in my corner to kind of gather where I was. And, and I could overheard him telling the promoter, he's like, fuck, you ought to book this kid some more. They were trying to find someplace else to send me. He said, that kid's going to be something. And, but, at the time, I was too green. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, so I had to go somewhere else. But that was my first introduction into wrestling, and I got thumped pretty good.
Isn't it crazy when you think back of the days in the gym when you were getting ready to go play basketball? If you didn't meet that guy,
yeah,
who knows where you would have gone?
Yeah, I would have probably tried to make a team somewhere, but I don't think that would have lasted because I wasn't real. I was limited. I wasn't. My game was limited enough. I would have probably ended up in the military, I'm pretty sure.
Isn't it crazy how life just...
Yeah.
do you ever think about that?
I think about it all the time.
That one dude was like your doorway
Yeah.
to a different life, to becoming a superstar.
Yeah.
There's one guy. You run into one guy in your life.
Yep.
It changes your direction, and then all of a sudden you become wildly successful at this other thing that you were not even really considering.
Yeah, it's nuts, and just the fact that I went to and sat in that lobby for 8 months. And it was at the end. I was like, "Fuck, this is getting me nowhere." And then just one day,
that is what people need to hear, man. In this day and age, everybody wants everything to happen right away.
Yeah, that is. Everybody's got that sense. One, the sense of entitlement, and figure they're owed something.
Yeah,
and and aren't willing to put in the grind.
Yeah,
and I tell people, I was living in my car.
Yeah.
Sometimes I could stay with my brother, but there was a lot of nights I had to sleep in a Monte Carlo with fucking, at 6'8" and 315 pounds is not real comfortable. But
is there more of a pathway, like an obvious pathway, for a guy to get into pro wrestling today?
So yeah, so we have in Orlando, it's called the Performance Center, and they have. There's still wrestling schools, legitimate wrestling schools around the country. And then every once, I don't know how many times a year, then they'll have a call there at the PC. Like, okay, you go in and they test you and see if you're, one, physically fit enough to do it. And then two, do you have some personality? Do you have something that you can bring to the table that might be a draw? And then if they book you, this is the crazy part right here. If they feel like you might have, a chance or something to offer, you get a contract right there, and you get a contract to train.
Really?
All you have to do is train. I can't, that's how far we've come.
That's amazing.
From my story.
8 months in the lobby.
8 months in the lobby, getting, people walking by to, all right, this is your contract. All you have to, this is our our place in Orlando right here.
Well,
Sorry.
you know, it makes sense for them because, I mean, you need talent.
Absolutely.
You constantly need new talent, and why not just train them and groom them?
Exactly. You train them and groom them
Yeah.
in the way that you want.
Yeah.
I mean, we send guys to the combine now, the NFL combine.
Really?
This guy, and you know, they sit there and talk. All right, who's going to make it? Who's not going to make it? And then we go all over the world now. They recruit in China, the Middle East, everywhere
Wow.
everywhere we have TV programming, which makes sense as well. They're looking for that hometown star, like when we go to, like if we go to Saudi or somewhere in Dubai or someplace like that. If you've got somebody local, that's just great business.
How did you become the Undertaker?
So that's Vince's brainchild. So I went to another company, WCW, where I was Mean Mark Callis. And right there, check that young stud out right there. That's terrifying, isn't it?
You look like
guys,
an enormous hobbit.
Yeah, that's yeah, we can take that down anytime. So I go there, and I was there about 8 or 9 months, and my contract was coming up, and I go in to renegotiate my contract, and they were like, "Look, you're a great athlete, kid, but no one's ever going to pay money to watch you wrestle. Like, I'm just looking for a little bit of bump, right? A little bump in my paycheck. I'm not looking for the mega deal. I'm just looking for a little bit of bump.
Wow.
No, we're going to give you the same deal for a year. I mean, you just, you do great things in the ring, but no one's ever going to pay money to see you wrestle."
Did they give you advice on how to get someone to pay?
No.
Wow.
No. That was
Figured
it.
out anything wrong.
That was it. So I'm like, okay, my ceiling, I know where my ceiling is here, right? So just through, a few different people, I get connected with some people in the WWF, which was WWF at the time, it's WWE now. And I had a match coming up. My hip was already bad at that point, even back then.
Really?
Yeah. It got much worse, but I was already limping. And I just heard it when we'd got Vince, they had said, all right, they've got a pay-per-view, just watch him work, So Vince watches me work, and I'm calm, like, I'm talking to my buddy Bruce. I'm like, "Bruce, my hip is jacked." He goes, "Just go out there. Vince is going to be watching," right? So I'm working with a guy by the name of Lex Luger. Went out there and did what I could. I sucked. I mean, I was physically, not able really to go the way I could go, and Vince wasn't impressed. He's like, okay, he's run of the mill. Fortunately, guys like Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard, they believed in me, and they kind of kept pushing for me to get this meeting with Vince, and finally I did. And he calls me. I got to go to his house, right? So I go to his
What
house.
is Vince's house like?
Fuck, you kidding? It's nice. It's fucking
Where
nice.
does he live in?
He's in Connecticut, man.
So you're in Connecticut.
Greenwich. Yeah, so
You
I'm
get a
up in.
call to the castle.
Oh, dude. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, right? Because most people go to the office, to the towers there in Stanford, right? And I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to the house. I got this shit, right? So I go in and I have the meeting. The meeting goes for about an hour and a half, and and this is, there's a lot of.
Does he have a butler?
But I don't know I know he had a housekeeper.
I would imagine there'd be a dude with a British accent answering the door.
I never
No
saw him.
sleeves, just ripped.
Yeah, right. You had to be everybody's jacked that works for Vince. But so I go there, and granted, we do some hokey shit. It is what it is. And they really, at that point, had some really, really fucking goofy characters. And so that we're sitting in his living room, and he goes, "Well, Mark, you have any hidden talents, other than wrestling? Do you do anything?" And I'm trying to be funny and not nervous, and well, I sing in the shower pretty good. And as soon as I said it, right, I'm like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have said that. I'm gonna be fucking
singing.
shower guy or something silly, right?
Shower guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh shit, I should not have said that, right? And then I'm like, I'm kidding, and I'm trying to clear the air right away. I'm like, I'm just kidding, I can't sing, And he's got the look, right? And he knows how to, he can read people. And he's like, really? Oh, no, I can't. So I got this long meeting, right? At the end of the meeting, he goes, well, we don't have anything for you right now. I'm thinking, oh, fuck. I guess I overplayed my hand here because I'd already give WCW my notice that I was leaving. This is what I'm thinking in my head, right? I was like, right. He invited me to the house. He's going to hire me, right? So, all right, you guys, I'll see you guys down the road. So now I'm sitting there, I got no job. And anyway, so one day, it's getting close to Thanksgiving, and they start doing this promotion where they've got this giant fucking egg. Have you heard this story?
Oh yeah, the gobbledygook.
The gobbledygooker, right? So we do a pay-per-view around Thanksgiving. It's called Survivor Series. So this particular year, it's 1990. They're gonna, there it is. They've got this giant egg on the set on the TV every week, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, "Holy fuck! I'm now I've gone from shower guy. Now I think I'm gonna be Eggman, right? Fuck! I'm gonna have to." I'm trying to grow my hair out, and I thought, fuck, he's going to make me shave my head. I might shave my eyebrows. I'm going to be fucking Eggman. Oh, and I'm a nervous wreck, right? So one day I'm sitting at home, phone rings. I get up and go answer it because we didn't have cell phones back then, right? So, hello? He goes, is this the Undertaker? I was like, Undertaker. Undertaker isn't Eggman. Fuck, Undertaker. That's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, this is Undertaker. Yeah, and it was Vince, and that was how he introduced the character to me.
He called you up and asked you if you're the Undertaker.
Yeah, and I had no clue to what it was.
And wow.
And I said, yeah, I'm the Undertaker, because I knew it wasn't Eggman, and
right.
Everything had to be better than Eggman.
He wasn't singing the shower guy.
Yeah, he wasn't singing the shower guy. It wasn't Eggman. Flew me up to Connecticut the next day, showed me the storyboards, and the original character, is based on an old Western Undertaker. The two guys in Main Street, they had the fucking shootout. One guy loses, Undertaker comes out and measures him, does the box. Well, that was the original likeness and the name, The Undertaker. And he just never found the guy. He had it for years, I guess.
So why did he send you away the first time? When you went to his
he
house?
didn't have at the time anything, he didn't have a spot for me.
But he was thinking.
And then it kind of dawned on him that he had that character, and he just needed a big guy with no personality. He needed a guy, that was void of personality to do the deal, and
wow.
And he gave it to me, and there's my debut right there.
Wow.
That's November of 1990.
And I was 6 years old, and I was shitting my pants.
Were you?
This was the scariest thing you can imagine for a 6-year-old. You're watching all these, it was some guy in a chicken suit that came out of that egg to show you how silly things were back then. So it had our attention. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes out, and he's like half dead, and you don't know what's going on, and he's scary and dominant more than anything.
Yeah, the thing was dominant. But this is the era of everything. I mean, you could tell this guy's in bright pink, and so that's Coco Beware.
Yeah, he's wearing some hot yoga pants.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, that guy had a parrot on his shoulder when he came to the ring.
Did he?
Yeah. Right? Was it a parrot?
Yeah, Frankie.
How does one do a pile driver and not hurt your opponent?
Hey, this is the guy to ask.
Yeah.
You got to. It's a way you grab them, and you just got to be strong enough to
support their body.
To support their body, and the key for me is when my knees start, I'm kind of pulling them up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a shock absorber. Ideally, the head never touches.
Did you ever see the fight between Bob Sapp and Minotauro Nogueira
Yeah,
in Pride?
Yeah.
That ruined that guy for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Bob Sapp actually pile drived him, and Bob Sapp was 375 with abs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
Yeah, and he pile drived Nogueira, who was at the time the heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
It's a crazy
Rampage
video.
suplexed some guys.
Oh my God, Ricardo Arona.
Gosh.
He suplexed a lot of guys. He slammed a lot of guys, but Ricardo Arona, it was the worst slam I've ever seen in my life. Ricardo Arona caught Rampage in a triangle, and Rampage picked him up, and instead of abandoning the triangle, he tried to hang on, and Rampage picked him up like a pillow. Like, like you would hit like your little brother over the head with a pillow. Like you'd lift back like this, and then boom, and he slams him into the mat, and then his head collides with Arona's head upon impact.
Yeah, that's the same way Rose lost to.
Similar.
Yeah.
Similar way. Yeah, got
she
slammed.
didn't let go. And
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
Dropped on her head.
Yeah, you got to let go. When you get
Yeah.
picked up in a triangle, you got to let go, or you got to hook a leg.
It's
gotta
hard
do
to.
something.
Yeah, I think for fighters, us, it's part of everyday deal. But I think for a fighter, it has to screw up your whole perspective because you don't expect somebody to be able to do that to you. You know what I'm saying? Like your instinct, I would imagine, is to squeeze tighter or like if I can.
The issue is it's hard to get a secured triangle.
Yeah.
So if you get to the point where your leg is like that, you're literally locked in. You don't want to let that go.
Right.
But you gotta.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
especially when you're looking over the top of the cage, something ain't right. So
Especially when
that's a long
Rampage was so fucking strong.
Yeah.
That's a scary moment because Ricardo Arona was really never the same again. Never the same again. Because before that, he was a big contender. He was an elite guy, built like a Greek god. He was a killer.
Yeah.
But that one slam changed his whole career. He was never the same again.
Yeah, it was nasty. That was really nasty.
Yeah. So in wrestling, like the amount of trust that guy has to have in you is off the charts.
Yeah, it really is. We've established at this point, I think everybody understands what wrestling is. I mean, it's sports entertainment, and I think everybody's kind of gotten over the fact, that that's what we are. We're entertainment. But I don't think what people really realize is that in any given match on any given day, you're 2 inches away from something catastrophic happening. And it is. I mean, it's 2 inches from being a holy shit, that was really impressive, to holy shit, that guy ain't getting up.
Right.
And I think a lot of people that that shit on wrestling, they don't understand that aspect. And you're right, and it does take an enormous amount of trust, and it's really hard to get in the ring with somebody that's hurt a few people.
Right.
You have to be, I've lost both eye sockets, but one was just because the guy was completely out of shape. There's a lot of similarities. One's a sporting event, one's sports entertainment, talking about MMA, but there's conditioning is kind of, I think, the key to everything. And a guy was out of shape. He was 6'8", 500 pounds, and I ran straight into what was supposed to be a clothesline. But he was so gassed and behind in the spot that instead of catching the meat of his forearm, I ran right dead into his fist with his momentum coming off of the ropes.
Oh, jeez.
Just blew my eye socket completely apart. And, dumbass me, I didn't know it for 3 days. But that's the kind of stuff that...
Did you have to get it operated on?
Oh, yeah. I've had them both rebuilt. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Is that when you had to wear the mask?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
you were just wrestling with a broken orbital bone?
Well, I'd already had the surgery at this point, but that was just... so that happened. That match happened. And like I said, back then, we didn't have doctors with us and trainers. So it's funny how I found out that my face was shattered. So I wrestled 3 more days. But every time,
with a shattered face,
with my orbital socket blown out. So I wrestled 3 more days, right? And it's as stupid as it sounds. It's normal for our world back then. you worked, hurt, or it's just the way you did it. If you could walk, you go to the ring, and I think that was part of the mystique of the guys. We're tough guys, and I think so. I work, and me and the Godfather, he's another wrestler, great dude. We were going to meet up after the show at some bar and hang out, right? And we were in Springfield, Massachusetts, and like I'm looking for the bar, and I can't find it. And I'm like, so I give up. Once again, we don't have cell phones back then, so I give up. I'm going to go back to my hotel. So I'm driving, and I pass this hospital. I said, you know what? Something just ain't right, because every time I just like that, my face would just blow up, and I'm gonna go in and get this. If there's nobody in there in the emergency room, I'm gonna go in and get this thing checked out. So sure enough, I drive through. I don't see anybody in the emergency room, so I go in. It's midnight. I go in. They do a CAT scan. Doctor, he comes out. And he goes, he says, "Do you have an ophthalmologist?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "Well, you need to find one, and you're going to need a surgeon too." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You've lost 50% of your orbital floor, is gone." I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. So I go home, and I'll call and say, "Look, I got to go home. I had this injury." So they go. I get home. They do another scan, another CAT scan. They said, "No, you've lost more like 70% of it."
Jesus.
So they end up doing the surgery. 2 surgeons, so they go inside the eyelid, make the incision. One surgeon holds up the eye and the nerve, while the other one picks out all the pieces and puts in the mesh kind of thing that's going to be your eye socket. Come to find out, I'd lost 90% of my orbital floor, and my optic nerve was setting right on top of a piece of jagged bone.
Oh, Jesus.
If I'd have took another shot to that side of my head, I'd have probably lost the eye or my sight. Yeah. And it's just because we didn't,
So your eye was just hanging on.
It was just hanging. It was just sitting on a piece of jagged bone.
And that would have been it. You couldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been. Yeah, I'd have been done. And so I had the surgery. So the mask, I healed. I don't know, maybe 6 weeks. Went and had the mask made and wrestled in that for a while and made it part of the story. And
so, what do they put back there? You said the mesh.
It's a. So my other eye that I did, they have it's titanium, but this is it's not titanium, but it's kind of a wire mesh that's just screwed into into the bone, and it works as my orbital floor.
So you don't have an orbital floor in that eye anymore. You just have this wire mesh.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like right
Yeah.
there. Do you feel anything back there sometimes?
Nope.
Nothing?
Never.
Holy shit.
The second one, my right side, I had a blowout fracture, and funny enough, it was just a freak thing that happened. The smallest guy in the company, little Rey Mysterio, he's tiny.
Yeah.
But he jumped off the top rope, and I should know. I should know what the move is, but I don't. Like right there. That's it. Right there. See that? I set my nose, or I'm about to, because it broke my nose too.
Oh wow.
Man, you're good, man. Jamie, you're fucking good.
Wow. And you still fought your way out of it. And
So
your
that
nose
was me grabbing
pouring
it.
blood.
I was straightening my nose out,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah, right
Boom.
on your nose. Oh Jesus Christ.
so I grabbed my nose right away, and I could feel that it was way over to the side. So I squeezed it back straight, but there was 3 of him.
Oh.
And so that one, it was just way back in the cone. It blew out the back end of it, and it wasn't as severe as the first one. But after the second one, left me with double vision. Like, if I look peripherally, like, you become opaque. Like, I see 2. Like that, I see 2 lights when I look like that.
Still to this day.
To this day, and that's been over 10 years.
And what did they say is the cause of that?
it's just the way the nerve was pressed. Or, when the fracture happened, it pressed the nerve for too long, and it never kind of rewired itself.
There's nothing they can do about that?
Not that I know of. I hadn't tried. Like, as long as I look straight, I'm good.
But what if you have to do a U-turn? Or like, what if you're parallel parking?
Exactly. That's funny that you mention it, because I've got to literally turn my body so that I can get my head straight, so I can see straight.
Because if you turn your eye too far.
Yeah, everything, it just kind of, instead of that image, I got that image.
Wow.
And that had to certainly affect you in the ring a lot too after.
Yeah, that, and then, then I have no supraspinatus either.
None?
None. It's completely severed.
When did that happen?
Well, it was a progression of a lot of tears, and the last tear I was working, I think, maybe around 2010. I was working with Kane, who's a just big dude, and I was trying to throw him up on my shoulder, and I was going to try and give him a pile driver, but he's 330 pounds, and his weight kind of gets stuck here, and I'm too stupid to put him down and readjust. So I'm trying to pop my hips and get him up there. And finally I heard it pop. I was like, holy shit. Got through the match, flew to Nashville the next day. And I said, Doc, I need a shot of cortisone. And he goes, Mark, your shoulder really needs to be fixed. I'm like, Doc, I'm right in the middle of something right now. I can't. I said, let me get through Mania. I said, just, give me the shot. And then after Mania, I'll come and I'll get it fixed. And reluctantly, he did. And normally the shot would last 4 or 5 months, 6 months. So he's in Nashville. So I get the shot. I fly back to Austin. By the time I get home, it's like I didn't get the shot at all. So I call him back up, and I was like, all right, Dr. Bird, you're a little smarter than I am. He says, well, fact, Mark, it's so bad, like, I want you to go see somebody else. I want you to see a shoulder specialist. So I go see Dr. Andrews. Dr. Andrews is like he's the guy that did Tommy John. He's the athlete's doctor. I go see him, and it's the first time this has ever happened to me. I go into the examining room, and he's already there waiting. I don't know if anybody else has ever been to the doctor's office, and he's sitting there and he's looking at me. And I'm looking at him because I'm a little taken back that he's already in the room, right? And we're looking at each other. Nobody says anything. And he goes, son, he goes, I don't know if there's anything I can do for you. He had obviously already seen my MRI and everything. He says, can you lift your arm? I was like, yes, sir. Yeah, I can lift it. He says, can I see you lift it? Well, yeah. He said, can you lift to the side? No, yeah, I can lift to the side. He goes, there's no reasonable explanation why you're able to do that. I'm like, he says, you've taught yourself how to use that arm with that severe injury. He goes, so we talked for a while, and he says, can we meet back in about an hour? He goes, I need to think about this. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm in Birmingham. Like, what am I going to do? I got nothing else to do. I got to find out what's going on with his shoulder. So we meet back in an hour, and he goes, I'm going to try. He goes, I don't think I can fix it. He says, but I feel like I owe it to you just to try.
Wow.
And even with that, I'm thinking, well, that's James Andrews. Like, surely he's going to fix it. He's just being humble. So I have the surgery. I wake up out of surgery, and my wife is, she's right there. And I could look on her face, and I could tell, like, it wasn't good. And I was like, babe. And she goes, and about that time, Dr. Andrews comes in. He goes, well, we found it. I was like, you found it? He goes, yeah. He said, the end of the supraspinatus was about back here. He says, we clamped on and we pulled, we tugged. And he said, we might have been able to get it sewn back together. He said, but the first time you try to use it, it was going to pop. It was just so dead because it had been torn for so long.
How long was it torn before you went to talk to him?
Well, that last one was when it tore completely in half.
So it had already been damaged?
It had already been damaged, yeah. And I was getting shots of cortisone to kind of mask the pain. That's
and then
why
when it popped off, that was it.
And there wasn't enough left to attach it back. He says your biceps tendon had come out of its groove too. He said, we did put that back. That should help you a little bit. I'm like, okay. And so, I go back to work. But now I'm getting older. And so, my physical skills are already starting to kind of diminish. And when that happens. But now, like when I'm in a match, now I've got to be cognizant all the time of where my shoulder is in relation to whatever it is I'm doing. Like there was a lot of things like tombstones, like I had to change how I would pick people up because I couldn't get my arm out extended because I had no strength. And I couldn't clothesline people. I mean, I had to, I had to have like my arm almost supported by my lat to do a lot of different moves.
And there's no other option? Like they can't do a cadaver?
Well, in the shit that I do and we do, it would have tore. And he told me that. He said we could have tried a cadaver. He says it's not gonna last if you want to wrestle. And at that point, I had I've been doing it this long with it hurt. I'll figure out a way. I wasn't ready to give it up yet. And so I waited a couple years, and then I called Dr. Dugas. And I said, hey, Doc, because he assisted on the first one with Dr. Andrews. I said, hey, you guys doing anything new with the shoulders? And he says, yeah. He said, come on down. He said, I think I can hook you up. I was like, oh shit, okay. I wish somebody called me. Let me know. Right. Let me know what's going on. And so same kind of deal. Have the surgery, wake up, see Michelle's sitting there, see her. Didn't have quite the same disappointed look on her face, about this time. Here comes Dr. Dugas. And he goes, plan A? No, that didn't work, which would have to reattach everything. He said, plan B? No, that didn't work either. He said, went to plan C. He says, which will help your recovery time. He says, well, what I did, they took the part of my infraspinatus, the one in the back, they detached part of it, stretched it over the top, so my infraspinatus is doing double duty now.
Wow.
So it works where if you were to look down before the surgery, like if you had a tube that could see down in my shoulder, I was 100% exposed. You could see the joint. So now I'm about 50 to 70% covered by the infraspinatus that he stretched over the top and reattached it. Once again, modern medicine. And, my right side isn't as strong as my left side. I'm right-hand dominant, but I'm 3 times as strong as I was before I had the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like a lab
supraspinatus
project.
That's an interesting one. I know a fighter who's got no supraspinatus. I think in both of his shoulders.
Yeah, it's done wonders. Like, I mean, I can bench. I mean, everything's got to be, everything's got to be in tight. Mm-hmm. Like if I do push-ups or anything like that, I need that lat and tricep help, instead of, getting in those funky angles like that. But
I mean, is there anybody that gets through pro wrestling without a series of catastrophic injuries?
There's one guy that's really not had many injuries. His name's Chris Jericho, and I can't think of anything that's really, bad that's happened to him. But I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, his neck is completely fused, right?
Yeah, his neck is completely fused.
From a pile driver.
But didn't he win the Olympics with a broken neck?
That's Kurt Angle.
Oh, Kurt Angle, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Kurt Angle won the heavyweight gold medal in wrestling, and he
with
was
a broken neck
and 190 pounds. He was so undersized. It was.
And to Stone Cold's credit, most of the big stuff that happened in his career happened after he broke his neck, right? Or was
No, he was already he was the guy. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, he was right in the middle of it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Kurt
really
Angle,
unfortunate.
they were talking about him fighting MMA at one point in time.
You know, I saw him. It was strange. I hadn't seen him for a while, and then I saw him at Lesnar Mir 1. He was there, and he was acting really weird. And I was like, "Kurt, are you thinking about and nothing ever came of it. But he's got some miles on him too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like he's got atrophy of his arms. From his neck.
His neck. And his neck's fucking 23 inches. I mean,
his neck looks enormous.
Yeah.
But it's just when I see a guy who with that I know has neck problems, you see his arms look smaller. One of the things that happens to guys, like it happened to Boss Rutan, he got his discs fused in his neck. His arm atrophied. Like he wasn't getting the nerve signals to his muscles. So his right arm, he calls it baby arm.
Yeah.
So it's smaller. It's like it's very weak. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
much it's recovered, but at one point in time, like he couldn't even hold out a jug of milk.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the neck there's so many of those nerves, and you get pinched or squeezed.
Yeah. I mean, what does Kurt Angle do to make his neck that big?
I'm guessing a lot of bridges and
Jesus.
I mean, his neck's always just,
Yeah. Look at that neck.
he could go, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed
Preposterous.
working with Kurt. Man.
That's an extra waist.
It's a waste.
It's like his waist, right? Look at the size of the muscles in that thing. But I mean, obviously, a lot of that is probably to compensate the fact that he's got a snapped neck.
He could go, man. What an athlete. Wow.
Oh yeah.
And Brock too, both
Yeah.
of them.
I mean,
Phenomenal.
Angle in his prime as a wrestler was a fucking savage.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah, I mean, as an amateur wrestler in the Olympics, I mean, he was a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, he was, and then he transitioned so well.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the deal. I mean, he transitioned so well into pro wrestling.
And how did Steve Austin fuck up his neck?
Pile driver, not a pile driver like I give. There's another kind where you grab somebody and you put their head like you put your head in their crotch. There it is, right there.
Oh my God!
See look at his head.
Where his head's gonna land.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
With all the weight of both people.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Just seeing that makes me shiver. Just seeing that image. Whoo!
For the sake of entertainment, man.
Crazy way to make a living.
It is a crazy way to make a living.
Now, take into account what you were talking about before when you were doing that 270 nights a year.
Yeah.
That is
Year round. I mean, there's
so
no off
crazy.
season. There's
Right.
it just goes. It's episodic TV now, especially.
Yeah.
We do live TV every Monday, every Friday. The schedule, I don't think, is quite as bad now. There were days where I would be out 45 days in a row. And just, and you didn't think anything about it. You just thought it was, and actually, when you get into that, you don't want to come off the road.
Really?
It just fucks everything up. It's just like, more than like 4 or 5 days, like, especially when you back in the early 90s, you get hurt and you're home, 6, 7, 8 weeks, you're a raving lunatic because your body's just conditioned to go and just be out there and doing it. And it's tough on relationships. It's tough. It's just, and you always got that you're always worried about that next guy coming up too, right? Like, fuck, I'm healing up here and this guy's coming up, and
don't want anybody taking your spot.
you don't want anybody taking your spot. Everything's,
Yeah.
although it's not competition in the sense of MMA competition, it's competition.
Yeah.
You're competing to be the top guy, or you're competing for your place on the card. So it is, and in that sense, a competition, and an important one.
Tony, it's gotta be wild seeing him when you were 6 years old for the first time.
Yeah.
And then hearing these stories now about how all that came to be.
Yeah, it's It's wild. Did you take a lot of? Did you have a lot to do with the creative side of things? Because there was an urn that his manager would hold that would charge him. Right? It would get. It would summon like superpowers.
Somebody who's not a fan, he's listening to this shit.
I know.
Like, fuck, what have you been smoking? What the?
He would put his opponents after he beats them. He would put them in body bags. At one point, he was. Building a casket for an opponent for a casket match. I think I told you at the Chappelle show when I met you, I got in trouble when I was a kid because, I was like learning about death from this man. Like, I didn't know you went into a casket after you were dead. You're 7 years old. You don't know that yet. Like, you don't know what a box is. You're like, oh my God, you put your body in a box? I got in trouble because I nailed my mom's piano bench shut because of the promos that you had for the Kamala casket match. He was nailing a coffin shut, and it was so scary to see as a kid. So I nailed my mom's piano bench, like how they open up. I pretended like it was a coffin, and I destroyed it. I got in so much trouble. I once took one of those suit bags that zip up, and like me and my buddies, we would have these fake wrestling matches as kids, and then we would
body bag matches.
We would zip up the suit thing and pretend like we're dead afterwards. Like it was like all these things were a part of my childhood. Like was that you? Some of Vince? Like
yeah. So Vince had the original likeness, and then after a couple years, I mean it had kind of taken over. Like I lived that. Like everywhere I went, I was always dressed in black. What people saw on TV, they pretty much saw in real life.
So if you went out to dinner,
I wouldn't dress quite like that, but I would be in all black. I didn't say much to people
because you had to stay in character.
I always stayed in character. I always felt like that I needed to be what they saw on TV, because if they saw me differently, like if they saw this,
right,
and then they see that on TV, it's like, oh fuck. It's just acting. It's just this. It's that. So I tried to make that guy real. And I did for a long time. Like for years, I didn't do interviews. I didn't do personal appearances. You got very little of me other than what you saw on TV. And that's what kept people captivated. Like, I mean, everybody like, fuck, I know he's not dead. But, but he's fucked up. Something's wrong. There's something.
Right.
And it captivated, to stay, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but to stay relevant for 30 years in this industry where there's so much exposure. I mean, you have to, I felt like that's the extreme that I had to go to, to make that guy continue to mean something.
Does it feel almost weird for you to be doing like a podcast
crazy.
Like this?
Absolutely crazy. So it started. I did a docuseries kind of chronicling the last few years of my career. It was actually me trying to come to grips with calling it a day, really. It's called...
Come on, scooting this way, just into the microphone.
Yeah.
Better. Yeah, there you go.
So we ended up calling it had nothing to do with the Jordan deal, but it was called The Last Ride, which is one of my finishing moves. So it kind of chronicled like the last few years of my career and me kind of chasing the dragon for that one match that I could hang my hat on and say,
that's it.
And as you get older and the injuries and all that, I figure that in, but I still see in my head what I used to could do, and that's what I was striving. I mean, you've seen it in the fight game all the time. Guys are looking for that, they can't come to grips with the fact that their skills have diminished and there's a changing of the guard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with what I was doing. I was looking for that one match that I could say, motherfuckers, I still got it. And now I'm out.
Was there a conversation about this with Vince where you were trying to figure out when to close the door?
Yeah, there was lots. There were lots of those conversations. And there were people that I talked to along the way, through my career. I was like, look, if I get to a point where my skills have diminished and I can't recognize it, I want you to tell me, or at least bring the conversation up, And it got to the point where nobody wants to have that conversation. Yeah. Nobody wants to have that. Like, hey, dude, your day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up.
It's a real problem.
I put a big burden on people, and they just couldn't do it. And now Vince, who I have an unbelievable relationship with, but also that's a huge intellectual property for Vince. For 30 years, So he didn't. I could go out for another few years and, I could knock somebody on their ass or I could choke slam somebody, but I can't do it personally.
Right.
I can't because I know there's so many guys that are coming up that are trying to get that spot, and I can't go out there and okay, I got all this equity built up from all these years. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna live off of that.
I remember when I was a kid in Boston, they had it was a local wrestling promotion, but Killer Kowalski was on, and I don't know how old he was at the time, but he had to be way up in the years. I mean, he looked like he was in his 50s.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, even as a kid, like, how long can a guy do this?
Yeah. And it varies.
Who's the longest? Are you the longest reigning guy? Or the
No, I
longest running guy?
think there's guys. I think there's guys that are like Flair lasted.
At his level, yeah, he's the longest by like a lot. He's probably going to be humble about this right now. But even then, the Kowalskis and all that, the styles were different, right?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
more
it
like
was
arm
athletic.
drags and like little tosses.
We had the claw.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Get your head.
he's throwing people off of 16-foot cells and getting thrown off of Titantrons like ramps and all this crazy physical stuff. It's a whole different game. And he went 10, 15 years probably longer than most of his peers.
Well, the fact that I stayed 30 years with one company, I think that's the one really big thing is once I started with Vince, I stayed with Vince. Where a lot of guys, they would jump from one promotion to the other, and I stayed. Once I got there, I was there, and
Wow.
it was it's been a hell of a ride.
30 years is a crazy ride. So what was your last match?
My last match was in was April. The Boneyard
Yep.
was April.
April
Yeah,
2020.
right
Here
here.
it is. It's a nice bike.
Yeah, that was that's a West Coast chopper right there. That's the bike actually belonged to Garth Brooks' security guy. But this was we got lucky because COVID had already shut everything down. So everybody else, this is WrestleMania. So everybody else is doing their matches in an empty warehouse, and we got to go off and do this kind of themed match. They turned this whole area into like a cemetery, and got to do a lot of theatrical stuff. And
So that must have felt like I can hang my hat on this one.
yeah, we started filming that at about 8:00 at night, and we wrapped at about 5 a.m. And like at the end of it, I was like, fuck, I can hardly stand up. Everything was just locked up, and I was, because I went into it, and I started training for Mania, and obviously I thought I was going to be in a stadium, in a ring, and so I had really got a good head start on my training, and my weight was coming down, everything was good, and then fucking COVID hit, and then it was just like the gyms shut down, and then then I got to I had to get to Florida just to make sure that I was in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, because you never knew like when they were going to shut all the airlines down. So the training, my training kind of went to shit, and but I was really happy with how this turned out, and I knew at the end of it physically, your day's done, man. And as much as I want to do it here, it's just the body it can't deliver.
So what do you do now? I mean, that's a long career. I mean,
Yeah, it is, and I'm trying to figure that part out because I've dedicated my whole life to this business, and there'll be times I help out and maybe mentor some guys, but I haven't. I got to find out what I'm passionate about, and still earn a living. Like I want to. Right now, my goal is like to be the best outdoorsman I can be at this point.
is that what you're into now?
I've always loved hunting and fishing and doing all. I just never had time.
Have you thought about doing a television show where you do that?
I've thought about it.
Undertaker Outdoors?
Undertaker Outdoors, right? Just the I think it'd be a hoot. It's just kind of I've thought about it, and I don't want it to be a job.
I understand.
I enjoy it too much, and I'd hate to lose like the fact like I don't want to go hunting. I don't want to go,
Right.
So, but I'm open to whatever. But
What kind of hunting do you do? What is your thing?
Well, I've always been a rifle because I've had limited time. So sit in a stand and wait for a whitetail to come stick its head out. This year, I just bought my first brand new bow. This year, I didn't get to shoot a deer.
Austin has a very good archery.
Yeah,
shop. Archery country is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah.
I had an issue with my bow just a few weeks before I went to Utah for an elk hunt. It was shooting low, and it turned out that strings had been stretched, and it had lost some of its poundage, so everything had to be readjusted. So I had to get it tightened up again and get the poundage put back on.
Yeah,
they did an amazing job.
Yeah, archery is, and I just found that out that that Austin's a real there's a lot of archery hunters here.
Yeah, well, Texas in general has a lot of hunters and a lot of archery hunters, but that is a real good archery shop, and it's hard to find in California. I used to have to go to San Diego.
All the way down to San Diego.
Yeah, I had to go to Performance Archery down in San Diego to find a real good archery shop anywhere near me.
Yeah, the biggest issue with me was finding a bow that would get my draw.
Oh, I could help you with that. Yeah. John Dudley's pretty close to your size. He's 6'5", I believe. Yeah. 6'5", 6'6", something like that.
What's his draw? Mine ended up
32, I think.
Yeah, mine's 33, almost 33 and a half.
Oh, they make them for guys like you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you just have to get the right cams and have someone who, like a guy like John, could set it up. A guy who knows how to set up a bow. I'm sure he'd be happy to do that for you too.
Yeah, that's where I think that's what I'm passionate about, because that's the one thing, like, it's always been that carrot dangling. Like, okay, once that career is over,
right?
You're free. You're free. You're going to do this and you're going to do that. But I mean, that's not the way life works. I mean, you still need to, I still need to be productive and do different things. I work with a lot of, I love working with the veterans. I work with these guys, 9-line. I do stuff with them. That's I'm just really passionate about people that have served our country.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, like if I hadn't have made it here, that's probably what I would have done. Mm-hmm. And I think about it sometimes. I think it may be my only regret. Like, I wish I'd served. Because I guess because I'm surrounded by so many of those guys now, and getting to meet guys like, Oz and Tig from Benghazi and Luttrell, all those guys. It's just, man, I can sit and listen to stories, all day long from those guys.
Yeah, Luttrell and I have been talking about him coming on here.
He's a good dude, man.
He's a real good dude.
He's those guys, like, he's so laid back, but you can tell, you can look at him, and you can tell, like, he's been through some shit, right?
Oh, he's been through some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, when they make a Marky Mark movie about your life, you've been through some shit.
Yeah, he's just nice as could be.
Yeah, real good dude.
I'm not, I don't get real excited about meeting celebrities or people like that. I'm just, I just leave people alone for the most part. And he spoke at the church we go to, and I called the pastor up during the while he was talking. I was like, "Look, I need to be introduced to him before I leave here tonight." And he's like, "Absolutely, come on back." But that's the kind of those are the kind of the people,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just I don't think we can do enough for people that put their lives.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And just people like that have been through so much. They're different kind of people. They're exceptional in a way that it's hard to describe.
Yeah, it's cool. You've had Goggins on, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's a fucking
times.
maniac,
I love
right?
him. Yeah, he'll send me text message out of the blue. Just stay hard. I'm like, okay. I was gonna go soft, but I'm
trading my ass off right now. But I enjoyed his book, so it was so good.
Yeah, he's a fascinating person.
Yeah, he's wired a little different too.
Oh, for sure. But he's got I love his story because Goggins was fat and he was lazy and he was eating fucking drinking milkshakes and shit, and he was way overweight and couldn't run at all, and just decided that he wanted to be in the SEALs, and decided he wanted to lose weight, and decided now's the time to do it, and just forced himself to be this fucking barbarian, man.
Yeah.
Like,
If you can't
all
get
in his
inspired,
mind.
if you don't read his book and can't get inspired by that,
Yeah.
if you get fuck,
Well,
you
I
might
tell
as well
everybody,
go
go to his Instagram page.
Yeah.
Go to his, and when I find a good one, I repost it on my page all the time.
Yeah, that's good shit.
You know, he'll have some that literally will make me go up and work out. Like maybe I'm not even thinking about working out, and I watch his video.
Or you already worked out
I'm
once.
Going,
You're like,
I'm going
I gotta go.
right now. Time to go to war.
yeah.
Yelling at us. I always wonder who the guy is that gets no credit that's running alongside of him.
He's
filming
driving.
all those
First of all,
things.
that's his wife, and she's driving.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's got the phone. She's got the phone out the window, and she's driving.
Wow.
A lot of motherfuckers will tell you.
But no excuses, right?
There he
Yeah,
is.
he is.
Give me some volume on this.
This guy makes me feel like a
2020.
bitch every day.
Was the perfect example of that. A lot of people lost jobs, lost businesses, lost family members. A lot of folks spent a lot of time in the hospital on ventilators. That should have caused a lot of demons in your brain. Folks see how much I work out, and they think I'm running from demons. It's not demons, it's discipline. And I'm a disciple of discipline. You cannot run your demons. They'll always find you. Only way to beat them motherfuckers is look at them eye to eye and make them your bitch. Mindset's the only thing that gets you through hard times. Merry fucking Christmas.
It's awesome. It's just awesome, man. No excuses.
He's a national treasure. That
Yeah.
man is a national treasure.
Yeah, that's just
Make her
that's
your bitch.
great. Yeah, just good shit. That's just good shit.
Yeah, but well, you know what? There's a lot of people out there that their mind concentrates on stupid shit. They complain too much. They whine too much. They're haters. They're jealous. They're weak. You need a guy like that out there that is just all about performance and discipline. And you realize, like, wow, there's a lot of different ways to live this life.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that waste time. They waste time on nonsense. Their life is filled with nonsense.
Absolutely.
And then you need a guy like David Goggins to go, oh my God, I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
I didn't even know. I had no clue I was a bitch, but I'm definitely a bitch. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that, Dave. All right.
And you know, and his body gets beat the fuck up too, man. He had a video he posted just a little while back. See if you can find this of him draining his knee. They drained his knee, and it's like a fucking coffee cup filled with
Fluid.
pus and fluid
Yeah.
and shit inside of his knee. And he was on crutches for like a couple of days, and then there's a video a few days after that where he's running. A lot of you motherfuckers thought I was gonna go soft. I bet you hoping. Oh, Dave, you fucked up your knees. You can't run no more. Like, look at this thing they're pulling out of his knee. Like, look at that thing. Do you see that?
That's a syringe full
Look
of
at
shit.
look at the size of that fucking syringe. They're pulling that out of his knee. Look at the size of that fucking fluid. That's a lot of shit they're pulling out
they're
of his knee.
getting a different one. They're getting another syringe.
They're getting another one to fill it up because they're not done yet. Oh my God, they're screwing another one in there. Jesus Christ. Look at this. This is how much pus and fluid is in his knee. And he's still running. So he's got two gigantic syringes of
Might get
fluid that are stuck inside of his knee. I mean, what in the fuck? First of all, if I had a quarter of that shit, I'd be like, well, no more running for me, son. I'm done.
Time to hit the pool.
Yeah, I mean, it's full and they keep going. That is a big, fat fucking syringe. And then you go to, like, 2 days later, he's got a video of him with crutches. And a couple days after that, he's running again. Ha, 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 motherfuckers.
It's crazy, man. That's a lost mindset, man.
He puts in miles, too. I mean, I don't know what the fuck the inside of his knee looks like, but, you know.
Yeah. Definitely need more people like that. Less people,
Well,
keyboard
it's just,
warriors.
there's, you know, you need to know. Like, there's all kinds of people out there in this world. But you need to know there's dudes out there with bulletproof minds.
Absolutely.
We need to know.
There's no, I mean, just the fact, no excuses. Everybody wants excuses, like I was talking about earlier. Everybody's entitled.
Yeah. But those guys are valuable.
Oh, hell yeah. Hey, if the shit goes down, I want him in my compound.
You know what he does sometimes? Sometimes he takes time off and goes smoke jumping. Like they just drop him out of fucking helicopters
Put
and he
fires
fights
out, right?
fires for
Yeah.
like $12 an hour. He's rich. But he practiced what he preaches. He stays hard. He doesn't need to work for $12 an hour. He does it because it's hard.
Yeah.
When he was telling me that on the podcast, I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, smoke jump. he just jumps out of fucking helicopters with a parachute to fight fires with a shovel and camps out there. Like those guys, that's a hard gig.
fucking job.
But he does it just to stay hard.
That's fucking awesome. Man, I feel like shit.
I mean, he'll do that to you. But the people like that they're valuable. They really are. With all these weak people in this world, weak entitled people, and this is the the old expression: hard men, hard times make hard men make easy times make soft men. That's what we're going through right now. Like,
Yeah,
the world got a little too easy. It was just a little too. There's too many soft people out there complaining.
That's fact.
It is. It really is. It's weird how that cycle just keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. It doesn't seem like human beings are ever going to learn. Like, it seems like we kind of have to go through that. It's like, even though these cycles exist, like the Hindus, they wrote about it like years ago. They called them the yugas, the different cycles of civilization, and we're in Kali Yuga, which is like the age of confusion. Is that what is the exact term of Kali Yuga? But it's chaos and everything's falling apart. That's what we're in right now, and people have been predicting that we're entering into Kali Yuga over the last 10 years or so, and now it's pretty obvious we're full on in it.
Yeah, we're on the cusp of
on. Tomorrow's the election. The inauguration, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't even want to fucking leave the house.
No. We had to get everybody to land around the perimeter and just make sure.
Well, they said gun sales were at all-time high yesterday. People were just going crazy buying guns.
You can't. Yeah, the place I deal with, their shelves have been empty for.
Yeah.
You can't. It doesn't matter what it is.
Like the toilet paper aisle in March.
I
That's what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it's like. It's crazy.
I walk in there, it's just like fucking tumbleweed rolling through.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I know people that work in gun manufacture. I can buy bullets off of them, because if you try to go to a regular store and just buy 9mm or something for an AR or a Win Mag, good luck.
I don't have one. I thought they just handed you one when you moved to Texas.
I'll hand you one.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give you one.
All right, perfect. Because right now all I have is a golf club. I have to get within 4 feet of someone to.
Well, I've been given 8 guns since I got here.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I'll give you one.
That's an excellent welcome.
That's
Texas. That's a Texas welcome right there.
But we'll have to take you to the range.
Yeah.
Take you to a place, and you've shot a gun before?
Yeah.
How many times?
A lot when I was younger, but I don't know. Maybe 10, 15 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you know which way to point it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll set you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good for you too. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's a great place out here called The Range. It's an indoor place. It's such a big place that they have a 100-yard indoor rifle range.
Yeah.
Which is just bananas. Like, who the fuck has that?
Yeah. It's a nice place. That's high-end shooting out there.
When I got there, they told me, if you hear a helicopter, it's Tim Kennedy. He helicopters in. Wow. He flies his own
He's another
helicopter.
maniac. Yeah. I used to watch him train over here at On It, and he's a psycho too.
Oh yeah, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
You again, you need people like that.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of varied interests too. Tim is a fascinating guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good dude.
He was a great fighter too, and really did a lot of his fighting while he was also still serving in the military.
Yeah.
A lot of his early days. So did Brian Stan. A lot of the elite guys that were in the military, they were in the military while they were fighting.
Yeah, I didn't know that about Stan. I know Tim was still.
Yeah, Stan, I believe when he was in the WEC, the early days of his career, I think he was still serving. I'm pretty sure. And and then he went from the WEC and transferred over to the UFC. And now I forget what he's doing in business. I think he's I don't want to say because I'm not exactly sure, but he's very successful in the corporate world now.
Oh, good for him.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
This guy transitions, and he was a great commentator as well, but he just decided he didn't want to do it anymore and just decided to do things outside of fighting.
That's not that's not an easy job either.
Commentator?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like when you hear a guy like Dominic Cruz or Daniel Cormier or something like that, I mean, just because you're a great fighter doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a great commentator.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that they have to learn, but it is really nice that the UFC has that available to them, so they can transfer from fighting right into commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, DC does a good job.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
I can't remember the fight, but y'all were doing it together, I think. Y'all are like a couple of kids. I'm trying to think what
I'm
fight
always
it
a
was.
kid with him. I love him to death.
But something happened. I wish I could remember who was fighting, man. But you guys were fucking jumping on each other, and it was just like, it's fun. No, because it's good because you're obviously still a fan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could be obviously you're doing your
fight.
job.
I know the fight you're talking about is Beneil Dariush and Jakar Close.
That's it.
And Jakar had him hurt bad, and then Beneil, and he abandoned like his defense and started going after him, and Beneil wasn't as hurt as he thought he
got
was.
tagged.
And Beneil cracked him back, and then Beneil wound up KOing him, and it was such a wild exchange. We're like, wow! We're leaning back, and DC's leaning on me, and John Anik is like this. That's us.
Yeah, that's it right there.
That's
man.
it. That's it. Look, he leans on me. And you don't see in that small version of it, you don't see John Anik in it, but John Anik was freaking out too. It was wild, man. It was wild. I mean, it was just, here's the exchange. Jakar, look, man, a lot of people would have been out. It was and then once he had Jakar closed, he hit him, or hurt rather, he hit him with that beautiful left hand and drops him. Wow. And we were just going ape shit. But I just love working with DC, period, because that's the picture. That's like a famous picture now.
That's awesome.
There's one where we're all green and they gave us like alien antennas, and it's the aliens watching Earth 2020. Like the series finale of Earth 2020.
It's good
It's
shit.
like, he's such a big kid. Like, you would never believe. Like, my wife said it best. Like, she met him for the first time pretty recently, and she was like, he's so nice.
Yeah.
You would never believe that he is like one of the baddest fucking people to ever compete in the sport. 2-division world champion, heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, elite wrestler, fucking savage. Literally, the only guy to ever beat him is John Jones and Stipe. Two other complete, total savages.
Yeah.
He's such a cool guy. I remember I'm positive it was the first time I ever saw you guys commentate together, and you guys were like getting ready or whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, such a cool guy." He's like, "You know how to tie a tie?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Will you tie this for me?" And I put it around my neck and tied DC's tie for him. So it's just like such a down to earth guy, and
So
then you see
normal.
him in the octagon at the highest levels, one of the smartest fighters.
Yeah, I mean, knocked out Stipe Miocic. I mean, what? I mean, he
Didn't see that one coming.
He's a fucking tank of a man too.
Yeah.
Because he's only like 5'10", but he's like 5'10" wide. Just couldn't be nicer. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really nice, but DC's like, he's exceptionally nice
And funny. It's hard to be
yeah.
funny when you're a fighter. It
Yeah,
just is.
right.
You're getting hit
You
in
got the
head.
stigma on you already. Like, oh, okay, he's gonna be a dick. He's a badass.
He's got a great sense of humor. He's always silly. Him and Max Holloway are always fucking with each other. It's really funny. Like when he was the heavyweight champ, Max was saying, "I'll fight you too, DC." They were talking about him going. Did you see the Max
How
Holloway
good did
fight?
he look the other night?
Jesus Christ. It was insane. He broke his own record. He has number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the most strikes landed. Most strikes landed and most strikes thrown.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
His volume is off the charts. It's hard to imagine, and didn't slow down one iota. In the 5th and final round, he still
Oh, it was amazing.
no problems with his cardio at all. I mean, that pace will cripple a person. It's just, he's superhuman. It was like a superhuman performance. Like, I really want to talk to him about what the fuck he does for cardio.
Yeah.
He should give seminars, because I just don't understand. I don't understand how he can keep that volume up. And you could see, like, and Calvin Kattar, the dude he fought, is one of the toughest men that's ever lived. Because the beating that he took in that fight, the fact that he never stopped swinging, never gave up, never stopped trying to win, took some shots. I mean, was wobbled on multiple occasions and covered up and was still swinging, was still trying to win. God, what a fight.
That was great.
What? I mean, what a performance. It's like one of the greatest performances. It might be the greatest single performance I've ever seen.
He was sharp, man. I just, wow.
Yeah.
And that's coming off, 2 losses, too, right?
Yeah, but I don't think the last loss was really a loss. The last loss was, you could make a
draw
real argument.
at worst, a draw.
Yeah. Real good fight, though, still.
It was still,
That just shows you how good Volkanovski is. Because, that he could beat him in the first fight and then, have such a close fight in the second fight. But when you watch Holloway in this fight, he was different. First of all, he was never in the same spot. Like a lot of guys, they make this mistake. They think, I want to hit this guy, so I'm going to go at him and hit him.
Straight in.
Holloway's thinking, I want him to think I'm going to hit him, and then I'm going to be over here, and now I'm going to hit you, and you're going to swing, but I'm not going to be there. I'm over here now. His footwork and movement and angles were off the chart, and he never let Calvin set. Guys like to set up and think, ready now, and you don't get a chance with Holloway. You never get, it's always punches coming at you. There's always a kick. There's a side kick to the leg. There's a leg kick coming. There's a jab in your face. It's all mixed up. And then when you think you got him figured out, boom, spinning back kick. Fuck.
It was a clinic. It was absolute clinic.
And you've always been a huge MMA fan, right?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
I think you had to be one of the first people to really start bringing those elements into the WWE.
Yeah, I started to. I used.
I mean, Hell's Gate is what, a triangle?
No. It's a gogoplata. Yeah. I just changed the name. Yeah. But I've been a fan from way back in the day. I'm trying to think. The first one I went to was in Miami. Might have been. So Ice Liddell was on the way up. I think Randy was the champ.
So this is like 2003 or
early.
something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there you
Gogo
go.
Plata. Wow. That's crazy.
Changed the name to Hell's Gate.
So you would grab them by the back of the head and run your shin underneath their neck.
Without trying to actually do that. Yeah.
Have you trained much jiu-jitsu, like actual jiu-jitsu?
We used to have funny enough, we used to have a ref that I'd get in and roll with him. And man, I would get there early and just pick his brain, and by the time it was showed, I'd just be exhausted. But but then and I did it because I was such a fan of it. I like to understand.
Mm-hmm.
I like to understand why things are done and why they're done, and and everything, boxing and wrestling and everything else. So
that fight that you're talking about, I feel like that's 2003, the Miami one, because I think that was the first time that I ever did play-by-play, and boy, was I fucking terrible at it. But Phil Baroni did color, so it was me and Phil Baroni did the commentary, because I think Mike Goldberg at the time had like a hockey game to call or something like that, and he couldn't get out of it, so they asked me to do it, but I didn't know what I was doing. Wow. Play-by-play is like what John Anik does is hard. My role is pretty easy. Like, if you understand fighting, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You just have to know who's fighting, and I'm such a fan. I'm watching everything, so I'm paying attention.
I remember the fight because Tank Abbott found me, and man, he wasn't even sitting anywhere close to me, but he spent the fight with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he talked to me the whole.
What a
night.
character that guy was.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I ran into him years later in L.A. at a bar. It was the same thing, man.
He's lost a crazy amount of weight now.
Yeah, he was a lot slimmer when I'd seen him in L.A.
I think he had some health issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, for all the boozing.
Yeah, but I'm a big fight. I went to I quit going to Lesnar's fight, so every time I'd go, he'd lose. But sure enough,
you felt like you were a jinx.
Yeah, I was a jinx. So I went to his fight with Mir, and he got caught in that knee bar, and then he obviously came back and he won the next one. Then I went to the Velasquez fight.
Oh,
when he came back from that fibromyalgia thing, and he was just.
That was not the Velasquez fight. That was Alistair Overeem.
I was
Alistair
at
Overeem was the diverticulitis fight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But Yeah, so I was at the Velasquez fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
he had diverticulitis already when he fought Vlad, but he doesn't know like when he had it or how
Yeah,
long he had it for. The scary one was him coming back from having. I mean, I think he had like 12 inches of his intestines removed, and then he fought Alistair Overeem like not that long later.
Yeah.
Like less than a year later, and Alistair kicked him in the body.
Yeah, right in the liver.
Yeah, and, you know, Alistair at the time was hopped up on all the Mexican supplements. That was when they had a silly drug testing program. I mean, it was basically like an intelligence test.
Yeah.
They would just test you the day of, and if you knew what you were doing, you could pass. And Alistair passed, and you looked at him, and you want to see someone not pass a sniff test? It's Alistair Overeem when he was fighting.
Pride.
Go to the weigh-in with Alistair Overeem when he's fighting Brock Lesnar. It is the most preposterous physique in the history of the sport. I mean, if you think like Yoel Romero has a ridiculous physique, Alistair Overeem, when they used to call him Ubereem, like, and he was 260, shredded, full six-pack, and just a destroyer. Like, no, that one down right in the bottom, lower right-hand corner, right where it says related images, right below related images. No, right below related images. Right there. You see the word related images? Right next to your cursor. See where it says related? Yeah, right there. Bam. Look at that. Son, what is that about? I mean, what are you fucking talking about? Are you out of your mind? That is a preposterous physique.
That's
So that's Alistair when he fought Brock, and just he has small children living in his biceps. Look at the size of his fucking biceps. They were ridiculous.
Crazy.
And he just smashed Brock. It was just Brock really shouldn't have been fighting at
after
that time.
Yeah, no, he came back way too
major
quick.
surgery,
Yeah.
and and his trainers they were concerned. You know, like you get kicked in the stomach after you've had literally a gigantic chunk of your intestines removed for a disease that who knows how long that was bothering him.
Yeah.
You know, he really didn't know.
He got sick. He almost died, man. You know.
Diverticulitis is crazy.
Oh, it's nasty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like something gets caught in your intestine and it gets infected and
Twisted,
jams up
yeah.
and clogs up, and
Yeah.
they don't totally understand it either.
No. Mm-mm.
I once saw a clip of Brock leaving the octagon, and you
guys are staring at each other. That's it right there.
yeah, you guys have like a very serious moment.
What was that about? Do you think he was trying to goad you into a fight?
I was there to pick a fight.
You were there to pick an MMA fight with him?
Not a fuck no. What are you smoking? Never mind. What are you fucking crazy?
So you were there to pick a WWE
yeah,
fight?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
my
you
wife
and
looks
Ariel
very
Helwani.
confused.
You didn't let her in?
Huh?
You didn't let her in on it?
No, she knows what's going on, but she's still like,
Did she play it off?
yeah, she's a worker too. She knows she gets it. Yeah, I was on Ariel's show and he asked me about it, right? But
Did anybody ever offer you an MMA fight? Because like when CM Punk had gone in, and then Alistair Brock, and there's a few other guys that were circling it.
yeah, no. So, fuck, it's too late in the game for me, And if I'd, if MMA and UFC had probably taken off sooner, I might have. But fuck, it took a while.
Yeah.
For them, for the UFC to come mainstream.
Right. Really, 2005.
Yeah.
That was when it really started happening with the first season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And then
but
really
even
mainstream
still,
after
that was for the people that were in it. Or not in it, but were fans of it.
Yeah.
Mainstream society was still kind of, and
And
I think
it was like Ronda Rousey.
yeah,
Those years, like the Ronda Rousey.
yeah,
years.
I think when Sports Center and everybody kind of started because they tried to stay away from it as long as they could.
Yeah.
And but once Sports Center came in, and ESPN and those guys, and it was like, oh, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some people like in the MMA world, like all Ariel's fans, they just kill him. Like when he interviews me, oh, well, you got the fake ass bullshit wrestlers on there, right? And I'm like, hey, I do what I do. I don't make any bones about it. But I think MMA people are a little more sensitive about it, because I think they got looped in, like, because they didn't understand. Most people didn't understand what it was yet. So
Really?
early on, and I think there's that stigma that MMA was it kind of, is it like wrestling? You know, and everybody's like, fuck no, it's not like wrestling. It's, you know, this is a fucking shoot. So I think there's a, you know, if you get it, you get it, you know, what we do. But I think that stigma of like, is MMA pro wrestling? And the fighters, you know, they're like, and it's not even so much the fighters as it is the fans. You know, most of them ain't thrown a punch or got hit by a punch. They get all up in arms. So, why you got that fake bullshit wrestler on there? Dude, don't.
Yeah, you can't worry about those people.
No, I don't worry about them. I mean,
Yeah.
don't judge me for what I do. You know.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's like don't read the comments, but it's just like,
What do you think about what David Arquette's doing?
what's he doing? I don't even know what the fuck
You
he's
know,
doing.
David Arquette is like
I know who he
balls
is. I
deep
don't-
in wrestling right now,
Oh yeah,
and they just did a documentary about him.
yeah, and it's great. I
Is
saw
it? What is it called?
Jeez, man, I can't remember it. I can't remember the title of it, but I watched it.
Cannot
I know
kill
he
David
did some.
Arquette.
He did some stuff back.
What is it,
with-
Jamie?
You cannot kill David Arquette. That's what it's called.
Interesting.
It's really awesome.
I know he was a big wrestling fan, and he did some stuff with
Yeah.
WCW.
Well, he's like really, really into it now. I mean, that's mostly what he does these days. He's doing a lot of pro wrestling.
Really?
And he's super dedicated to it, apparently.
I know that he.
Look, he gets busted the fuck up. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and the wrestlers that he goes against all want to teach him a lesson, like, oh, you're not gonna, you know, they're all extra tough on him, and so it goes into that a
Jesus.
lot. They're like, oh, David Arquette thinks he's gonna come and
Yeah.
show us.
Show us, yeah. That mentality's kind of going away, I think. But
Yeah.
Is it?
yeah, you know, back in the day, like when I broke in, and the guys before me, like anybody's, you know, fucking wrestling's bullshit. It's fucking go time, right? It's just,
Right.
yeah, it's like, because you had to defend.
You remember that famous video with John Stossel?
Oh fuck, he got the shit slapped out of
Who was it that did that to him?
David Schultz.
Right.
Slapped the dog shit out of him. Yeah.
Like hard. And
Was that
Schultz
fake?
Was an enormous. Yeah.
Was that
That's it.
fake?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but that was the mentality back then. Like,
Well, it was also the way he was talking about it was pretty disrespectful.
Yeah.
And saying it in a way like he was immune to getting hurt.
oh, he slaps the
Yeah.
dog shit out of him.
Let me hear this. Give me some
Punk
volume.
holding the camera reading, he ain't in it. Reading these rednecks out here ain't in it because it's a tough business.
That's terrific.
What, is that all you got?
I'll ask you the standard question. You know,
Standard question.
I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You talk like that. Huh? What do you mean?
He was
Yeah.
not expecting that.
That was disrespectful.
Yeah.
The way he communicated was disrespectful. And he thought that he could just get away with being this hard ass reporter to a guy that was clearly amped up. That's called reading the situation incorrectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you see how amped up he is? David's looking him in the eyes, all fucking jacked.
Yeah.
Like, you don't say, I'll tell you what, I think it's fake.
Yeah. You don't have to, you don't have to like it.
No.
And not everybody likes all forms of entertainment, but
Whatever
fucking
happened to him?
don't.
Did he suffer because of this?
Yeah, I think he got blackballed from a few places. I think.
Yeah?
Wouldn't touch him. Yeah.
Because
It's
of that.
unfortunate because he was taken up for his business. And,
Well, not only that. I mean, what great publicity.
yeah.
I mean,
the
you
same
know,
thing with
you should have
Kaufman.
gone, you
and,
need to stop that,
yeah.
David.
Right.
Give him a little slap on the old wrist.
Yeah.
yeah.
And come on. I mean, what do you... Just listen. Yeah, you shouldn't go around smacking reporters. Also, reporters shouldn't talk so disrespectfully to a gigantic savage.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and that era of guys too. You know, those
Oh.
were men.
Yeah.
Like you go into a dressing room nowadays, and it's a lot different. I remember walking into my first real dressing room, and I also were some crusty men, right? Like half of them had guns and knives in their bags, and shit got handled back then. Now you walk in, the guys playing video games and fucking, making sure they look pretty and
Hard times make hard men.
exactly, yeah. you know, it's evolution, I guess, or
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I just prefer. I don't know. I just liked. I like those eras, man. I like that when men were men, and
I get it. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously how you came up. I mean, you came through that era. When you see people that have it easier, you go like, when you
Yeah.
think about those days you spent rolling around on the grass in front of that dude's house while he's face cranking you.
I do. I think about that often. I was like, fuck.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
dodging piles of dog shit. Yeah.
but look at what a rich, amazing story you have. You know, like the 8 months you spent in that lobby, going there every Wednesday. Like all that stuff is what makes you you. And when it's all said and done, you're 30 plus years in the game. You can look back on that and go, I earned every fucking ounce of this.
I can look back and, you know, I didn't cut it, you know, I didn't give me shortcuts and nothing was given to me. And,
Yeah.
You know, that I can be proud of that if you know, nothing else.
Do you think it would feel the same way if you went through like the grooming situation that they're going through now, and when they get paid to train? And
I'm sure they think they've got it hard.
yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
still not easy.
No, it's not
Right?
easy, but you know, I'm sure they wake up certain days and like, fuck, I got to go to the performance center and train. You know,
Yeah.
like, fuck, I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight.
Meanwhile, David Goggins is running with a
Running-
quart of fucking fluid in
He's
his knee.
running.
Stay hard.
Did you ever find the guy, your original coach that just moved out?
Oh, that guy's dead.
Yeah, he is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead. I ran into him a few years later. I got in the business, and but I left a really key point out of that story, what I did. So I showed up at his house that day, right? And
All the shit's gone.
all his furniture, he'd moved on to another territory. But I guess he had to leave so fast that he couldn't take his dogs. He had 2 beautiful Rottweilers.
He left
Yeah.
his dogs?
He
just left them?
just left them.
Oh, my God.
They got good homes.
Well, you took them.
I took them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
I was like,
I mean, imagine if you didn't take them. What the fuck was he going to do?
Look, I have no idea.
Oh,
I would think he would have came back or had somebody come back for him, but I was like, fuck, I'm
He
out
stole his
$2,000. I
dogs.
hadn't learned anything but some amateur wrestling. I was
that's
like, fuck that. I'm taking these dogs. I couldn't eat myself. I didn't have enough food, money to feed myself. I didn't know how the fuck I was going to feed some dogs, but I knew I was getting something out of this. I got the shit kicked out of me for 6 weeks. I'm getting something out of this.
Yeah.
And I ran into him, it was a few years later for a different company. And we're sitting across and he had no clue. He had no clue who I was. And we're sitting across the dressing room, and I'm just fucking staring at him, right? And he's like, and he was, like I said, Buzz was a tough guy. He was, a good amateur. And he said, fuck, why are you staring at me? I said, you don't know who I am, do you? He goes, fuck, should I? I was like, yeah, you probably should. You took $2,000 of my money. You should probably know who I am. Yeah, and he's kind of fucking squinting at me like, well, what do you want to fucking do? So I don't need to do anything. I got my money. So how do you have your dogs? It's like you took my dogs? Like, yeah, I took your fucking dogs. You fucking left me. It's like, well, fuck, what do you want to do? I'm good, man. I'm all good. At that point, I'm still a fucking greenhorn, right? He's a veteran. And I'm like, fuck. I'd have probably got my ass kicked. He'd have probably took me down and fucking, put me out. But I'm thinking like, But there's always like, fuck. Here I am trying to get my foot in the door, and do I fight this guy and get fucking fired right out of the get go?
Right.
And I remember one night, I had a chance, and I don't know. Sometimes I think about I should have took it. I was looking out my hotel window, and this hotel, there was a Waffle House, and I was looking out my window, and I could see in the Waffle, I could see him, and he was by himself, and he was all fucked up, he was all pilled up, you could tell, he's bobbing, and fucking. I'm thinking, fuck, I could go hide behind a car right now and just fucking tee off on him. No one would care,
Right.
and no one would know. So I'm having this battle with myself. It's like 3 a.m. Like, fuck. Yeah. I think, fuck. No, don't do it.
Good thing
Fuck
you didn't
him.
do it.
Yeah, I didn't do it because
That's how people die.
yeah, it's how people fucking really, And there would have been me on camera somewhere, and
Yeah. He owed me $2,000, but I did get his dogs, and now he's dead. I'm sorry.
yeah, everything worked out all right, I guess. But,
Yeah. Have you ever tried Dallas Diamond Page's yoga?
I have not, and you know what? I'm actually contemplating giving Dallas a call.
You should give him a call. It's legit. It's very legit. It's legit for everybody, but I mean, he has a soft spot in his heart for wrestlers, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, he's taking guys in, and
he really helped Jake the Snake.
Yeah,
but his whole system, his DDP yoga. He doesn't even like calling it yoga. He likes to call it just DDP.
Yeah,
because it is yoga. I mean, he's doing yoga moves, but he adds some dynamic tension to them and a bunch of other things. And I mean, that guy is fit as fuck.
Yeah, he's 60.
He's in his 60s?
I think he's in his 60s.
He's in his 60s, super flexible.
And that's one of the secrets to Chris Jericho's not getting injured. He's another one of those big yoga guys.
Oh.
And when DDP came out with his, he switched over to that.
Listen, man, Rickson Gracie, the greatest jiu-jitsu player of all time, was a yogi. He was really into yoga. It was one of his big secrets early in his career, is that Rickson was like super flexible and super strong. I mean, yoga's amazing. But Dallas can grab his foot, like right now at his age, and stretch it up to a full split standing. It's crazy. He did it in my fucking studio without even warming up. Just grabs his foot and can do it.
Like I'd tear something, you'd have to pull me out of here.
Well, he did it. He learned yoga and did all this because his back was so fucked.
Yeah.
And his back to this day it's like, his stenosis is off the charts. He probably barely has any discs back there. But he just strengthened all those muscles on his spinal column so strong through yoga to the point where, he doesn't really have any pain anymore. Never had to get everything fused. Like a lot of guys wind up getting their shit fused.
Yeah.
He just really got into yoga and helps a lot of people with it too. And there's amazing success stories on his website where you see there was this one guy in particular who was overweight and he had to walk around on crutches. And at the end of the video, the guy's running. A couple of years of him training him and adjusting his diet, and then this constant daily dedication to that yoga.
Yeah, my wife's been on me. She says you need to call him, or she said, you don't even have to call him. I was like, well, if I want to do it, I need to call. I need to talk to him just how to do it. I need to do it because
he's such a great guy too. He's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's another one of those motor guys that positive energy and makes you feel better just being around him.
He's also he does so much for other people. He really does love helping other people. Likes helping them get clean their act up, and then get their body in shape and get fit. He has a whole house in Dallas that's dedicated, or was he in Atlanta?
Atlanta, I think he's in Atlanta.
Yeah, he has a whole house in Atlanta where he keeps people that that are trying to get their shit together. He helps guys out.
Yeah, I should. I give him a go. I got these guys. A guy comes in once a week to my house, helps me stretch, and it does wonders. And I should probably do it 3 times a week. But
yeah, stretching is one of those things. If you don't do it, you need it.
Yeah. These guys are good. They used to be out on it too. I don't know if you ever saw TK
is that
stretching
from Black Swan Yoga?
No.
There's those guys.
TK stretching, man. It's this couple.
Oh, okay.
And Kimberly, she stretches my wife, and then Tim stretches me, and it's like one of the highlights. It's like afterwards, it's like that 2-3 hours where I can still move. I could still do this shit.
Well, imagine.
And then it goes away, and then
if you just did yoga every day, that's how you feel. Legit, that's how Dallas is. I mean, it's really because of his yoga.
Yeah, I got to get that mindset. When I was getting ready for an event, I'm a fucking animal. It's okay, I got to be ready on this date.
What would you do? What's your training routine?
It's kind of like a modified CrossFit strength training kind of deal, and which is catered around my injuries. There's a lot of things that I can't do, but most of my concerns over the last few years, because I would sometimes only work once a year, is cardio. I'm not so worried about being all yoked up, or a lot of times I need to lose weight because I feel better at this point in my career at 290 or 285 than I do at 305. And so first thing to do is assess where I'm at. Okay, do I need to add weight, gain weight, or lose weight, whatever I need to do? And then where's my cardio? because my cardio is good. Then everything else is kind of like riding a bike. I mean, I'll need to get in spar a little bit just for timing of certain things, but it all begins and ends with cardio. So I back out 16 weeks and have this is the goal for this deal, and a fair amount strength. I have to do some strength training just to keep my sanity, because I'm a musclehead from, used to do five exercises, 4 sets, 10 reps. That's the school that I come from, right? And so I had to break it down into, pushing sleds and kettlebells and all of that, and assault bike. Fuck.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
The assault bike?
Yeah, for torture.
Oh my gosh, that's the
Tabatas. You do Tabatas on it? Yeah. 20-second sprints and then 10 seconds off. Have you ever seen the assault bike?
No.
It was at my studio. I have it at home now, but it's it's like got the handles, and I got an Echo bike from Rogue. That's the best one.
That's the best one.
Yeah, it's fucking phenomenal. It's so hard to do. You do sprints. So for 20 seconds, you go all out, and then you rest for 10 seconds, and then 20 seconds all out, and I do a series of 8 of those. It takes 4 minutes. And dude, you just want to die. After 4 minutes is over, you just fall down, you collapse. You look down, there's a puddle of sweat. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, in 4 minutes. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, 4 minutes will crush you. Yeah, and when I was, getting ready for elk hunting season, because that's in the mountains and it's hard.
Altitude,
I did 10 of those. So I did 10 of those 4 minutes, so 40 minutes. So I'd do one, I'd let my heart rate drop down below 130 beats per minute, and then I'd just do another one again. And then I just kept doing it. Just kept doing it. And my legs never got tired elk hunting season. They would always get tired. But it conditions your legs so much because you're pushing like that against the resistance of that thing. Yeah. It's just one of the best cardio exercises ever. And fighters use it all the time. After they'll do their like drills and all their pad hitting work, and then when they have to do some extra conditioning at the end, a lot of guys love that.
Yeah. I would start up either on a long row, and then do my workout, and then the end fucking hit that Tabata.
It's amazing.
Cuss
it's so
the
good.
whole time. But it is. You're right. You feel so good, and I've actually done it too with where you cut the oxygen off and.
Oh Jesus!
Oh yeah.
Like with one of those masks. Mm-hmm. Ugh. Why?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking while I'm doing it. When I feel like my lungs are like a dried out sponge. I'm like, fuck, get this thing off of me.
Yeah.
But when I have that, like that date,
right?
And I got 4 months, and I don't want to embarrass myself.
Right.
That's the key. You're old. You're going to be out. You're putting yourself out there. Nobody's making you do this. You're doing this yourself. So you got to be,
right.
You got to be the best you can be. So then it's easy for me. But right now, I'm in this transition period in COVID. Like I'm gonna need a Goggins call here in a minute. I'm about to puss out. I'm gonna need Goggins to call and just cuss me out like a bitch. But it's just trying to get that workout. I'll go upstairs and do some bench, see what I can. Okay, yeah.
With your shoulder, I can't imagine that you still do benching. It's crazy.
Yeah,
because that's the thing that fucks shoulders up the most.
Exactly,
really, is benching.
I tore my pec benching early or '99. I used to train with this guy. He passed away. His name was Brian Adams Crush.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my best friends, and he grew up in Hawaii, and he'd go down. He's always in the ocean, and just incredible. Funny story about Brian. So I met him when I first started with WWE. I met him in a gym, and I don't know anybody there really. And he's on a squat rack, and he's got 315 on it. And he comes over, hey, you mind spotting me, right? And I said, yeah, sure. So he's moved up to the he's up on the bar and he's getting his hands on it. So when you spot somebody when you think they're about to squat, you grab them, underneath, right?
Right.
So I go and I grab him, right? And he goes, what the fuck are you doing? What are you? You know, I don't know how politically correct. You know, I won't use the expletives in the derogatory. Yes, you're following me, right?
I gotcha.
Okay, so he goes, I'm not going to squat this. So this would crush me. I'm on a military present. 315 behind the neck. He did 8. Boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
Boom, and racked it. I was like, and he was 6'7", right? Big upper body.
That's a lot of fucking weight to military press.
It's standing.
Holy
Not
shit.
on a Smith machine. He just did it, right? Huge upper body, like pool cues for legs, but you know. But anyway, that was my training partner, right? So we're training one day, and I was rehabbing a groin injury, and I was just about to go back to work, and feeling really strong one day. So I got 485 on, and Brian was a social butterfly, right? So he's talking to the guy over here. So he unracks it. I go down. 1. I'm like, oh, fuck, that felt good, right? So I come down for the second one. And it felt like, you know when a fish starts to hit a line?
Yes.
It starts tugging? Well, that's
Oh,
what my
no.
chest, that's what I feel. It's like, doof.
Oh, no.
Brian's oblivious.
Oh, no.
So I'm sitting there with 485 on my chest like this. Like, Brian. And he's like, and he comes, come on, you got it. You got it.
Oh, my
And I'm
God.
like, look, I could already tell it was just fucking gone. So he fucking upright rose this shit off of me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, adrenaline, and you know, and I'm just like, oh shit. I tore the muscle from the tendon, and
Did you get it reattached?
yeah, I got it reattached, and you know, another time, Dr. Bird tells me, he goes, now look, he goes, I know you know a lot more about medicine than I do. He goes, you tear it again, I'm not going to be able to fix it. So you might want to do your rehab. And you know, back then I do half-ass rehab and get back to work as soon as I could. But
How long did it take to recover from that?
that took a while, and it was a long time. That was about an 8-month rehab on that one. And then I didn't bench again for years.
Yeah.
I was just scared. You know, I don't want to tear it again. But
Yeah, it's a scary one.
yeah, it was.
Torn pecs are weird. I had a friend who had a torn pec and he never got it fixed. So he had this like weird, crazy divot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real odd. It's like he had extra tit here, and this was like a hole.
It's
Yeah,
crazy how tough wrestlers are. I remember one of the Piper things that I remember the most is we were hanging out a lot. He was doing stand up at the Comedy Store in some of the last years of his life, hanging out there a lot late night with me and Barris. Like we would all just go to the diners afterwards, and he would drive a lot, and he was having trouble with his shoulder, sort of famously, for a month. And he was like, oh God, when he was turning his steering wheel, it was like, oh, you could tell. Even though he had obviously a very high tolerance for pain, extremely high tolerance for pain, he's like, shoulder. He's like, yeah, I'm going to a doctor in a couple weeks. And the whole couple weeks, my shoulder, jeez Louise. And then after that, he's like, yeah, I went to the doctor. Turns out my neck's broken. Yeah, just had a broken neck. Thought he had a sore shoulder, but
How did he break his neck?
I mean, it's just like every injury is.
It's crazy. So I wrestled. After that, I think it was 2015, I wrestled Lesnar at WrestleMania in the Superdome. Somewhere in the first 5 minutes or so of the match, I get concussed. I can't tell you where it happened, when it happened, but I have no memory whatsoever of the match at all.
Oh.
Crazy. Like my memory from that day, the last memory that I have is at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is crazy, right? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a conversation with my wife. So obviously I had all that time. I think we went to the ring around 9:30. The concussion happens somewhere within the first 5 minutes of the match. And anyway, I go through the match. The match goes for 30 minutes. I couldn't tell you one thing about it. I mean, I've seen it back now, but I mean, at the time, I got no recollection. Couldn't tell you my name. Couldn't tell you where I was at. Had no clue. Never lost consciousness, but had no clue. Anyway, they take me to the hospital, and they take me back, and my wife and Vince are there in the waiting room. They come out. It's the same kind of deal. They go, all right, he's broken his neck, and we're going to give him another scan. Like, obviously, my wife is completely freaking out at this point, and come to find out, they had read the scans wrong. It was an old break that I never knew I had.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you had a break.
I never knew
still
it.
wrestling with it.
And I never knew it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Probably just assumed. Like, was that pain in your shoulder too? Like that's what I'm noticing. It's like a lot of these neck injuries go to the shoulder.
Well, you were talking about your neck injury.
Yeah.
And is that where it's bothering
Yeah,
you?
totally. The whole back of my shoulder blade's messed up, and I just found out that my neck's messed up, disc on disc, whatever.
Bone on bone. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have stenosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably got that from wrestling.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
They have me on steroids right now. Can you tell?
Yeah, they ain't got you on the right ones.
They probably have you on cortisone.
Yeah.
Methylprednisone or
Yeah,
something?
prednisone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think
Yes.
you get jacked on prednisone.
Damn.
It's the wrong stuff.
I'd be
So,
huge
boy.
if you did.
Yeah. I contacted that dude about stem cells.
Oh,
We
cool.
Talked to him about that.
Yeah.
Have you had any stem cells?
I have. I've had, I did PRP and stem cells and didn't do much good for, like, I put them in my knee. But I had all these guys now that are going down to Colombia and Panama.
Colombia, yeah. Mhm.
And they swear by it.
Yeah.
I think because they're more down there than they'll the
Yeah.
FDA will allow here.
Exactly.
But
They do a lot
two
of wild
guys
shit down there.
Yeah, two guys that I know have gone down there and swear by it. It's like,
Yeah, I sent my mom down there. I sent my
really?
mom to Panama. Yeah, twice. Yeah, she had a really bad knee, and it was in pain all the time. And she went, and then 6 months later, the pain went away. It took a while, but for 6 months, she was like, "I'm not feeling anything. I'm not feeling. It feels the same." And then about 6 months later, because she's in her 70s,
right.
it took a little while before it kicked in. But then it started feeling much better, and then she went back again for a booster a while later. It helped a lot. Really, it stopped all the pain.
I've heard nothing but, I hadn't heard any bad for sure.
What's going on with your knees? Meniscus?
Arthritis, yeah. Just, I think it, once again, going back to my hips and throwing my gait off, my walk
sure.
off, it's just,
Well, it's just also the weight, carrying
Yeah.
that much weight around for anybody with your cartilage and your meniscus and the kind of shit you're doing. So these crazy explosive movements and
when I was getting ready, 3 or 4 years ago, I was training over here for that too. Way too old, but did a 42-inch
box jump. Oh,
and then did a 500-pound pull, which I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I didn't even know I could get down that low, to even get
a deadlift
to
position.
deadlift, yeah. And but it started, then I started looking back through some of the footage of the training. Like, it started with me doing step ups. I mean, that was where I started my program at, just doing step ups on a bench to end up
42-inch box jump.
Yeah,
That's
at
impressive.
50 plus. Yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah. I couldn't do it now, but
Deadlifting. Robert Oberst. He's a strongman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't even believe in deadlifts. He's like, you shouldn't do deadlifts. It's
No.
just the weight on your. It's very controversial for him to say. Some people disagree.
Yeah.
But it is it's one of those things. It's like you can fuck your back up.
easily. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're doing heavy weights.
with poor technique. Yeah, it's real easy to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't have any reason at this point to try a 500-pound deadlift. I got nothing left to prove. I got one.
Yeah.
I got one on film, bro. I'm good, man.
We got to boost Tony up to that.
That's it.
I've been telling you, if you want to get bigger, you got to lift heavy things, squats and deadlifts. You got to tell your body that something's wrong. Something's horribly wrong, and you have to lift heavy things now forever.
Yeah. I was going to the gym, and then my neck got messed
He
up
ain't
like a
sold
month
on it.
ago.
We need a fucking Goggins hotline.
for Tony. You just saw Goggins pull a quart of fucking fluid out of his knee. And you're like, well, my neck's kind of bothering me.
Yeah, I can't
really do squats. I was really getting into it, but, now it's just uncomfortable, so I'm just going to sleep.
Sleep it off.
Do you still follow WWE now? Are you still...
Yeah, because I think, once things kind of start to lighten up, hopefully.
Can you enjoy it as a fan, or is it like, are you too close to it?
I try. It's tough right now for me because the product has changed so much, and it's kind of soft.
Are you gonna get in trouble for saying that?
Probably. I probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. I
Right.
mean, it is what it is. But to the young guys, he's a bitter old guy.
Right.
I'm not bitter. I did my time. I'm good. I walked away when I wanted to walk away. I just think the product is a little soft. There's guys here and there that have an edge to them. But there's too much pretty, not enough substance, I think, right now.
100%.
You agree?
Yeah.
What bothers you?
I think they're playing for, a $1 billion market. They want the kids. They want the kids' merchandise to sell. The parents will buy stuff for the kids. The new T-shirts come out. But really, it was, I think that the peak of everything was, the Attitude Era, right? 99, early 2000s, and all your learning thing. Like, it's like you're becoming, instead of playing to kids to be like, hey, look at this silly character, you're a kid, you'll enjoy this. The kids like me, in grade school and high school were watching because it was wrong. It was like, oh my god, it's dark or it's crazy sexual, like the stuff DX used to do.
Yeah.
You learned, they would just make fun of each other harsher. The shit talking was harder. The storylines were tougher. Now it's like more of a big brand for a big network, and they don't have that edge that it used to have.
They're trying. And it's always been this way. But they're trying to put something out for everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what? They're just like, some guys, are into the comedy shit, and then there's other guys that want to see the hardcore, more hardcore type fighting. What I think one of the big things that happened is that the generation before, we all got old at the same time, and so there weren't enough guys to work with the young guys. We can sit and talk, and I can give you my theories on what you should do, or you should do this, or maybe you should try this. But until you actually can get in the ring and actually do it, it doesn't really translate a lot of times. Mm. And then you also have too many people that, well, they're on the internet. These guys on the internet say, I'm pretty fucking good, It's like, okay, well, you can listen to them, or you can listen to somebody who's been there and done it. So I think that there needed to, you can't help it, but there was just not enough merging of the young and the new talent. Like when we had Stone Cold and Rock and Triple H, Shawn, all these guys, we were all working together, and we were making money, and we were drawing, and then we all just we aged out. I hung in there for a long time, but we kind of aged out, and then it just left all these young guys to learn with more young guys, and the product, the product changed. We have, the PC, the training centers helping. We got Triple H, a great wrestler. He heads that whole thing, and he's trying to get some of the toothpaste back in the tube. It's trying to move it back to kind of take a step back to move forward,
right?
To give the product a little more edge, and I think that's what it's missing.
What is CM Punk doing? Is he wrestling again?
No, I don't think so. He's not. I don't think he went to AEW or anything now.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So when he had his last fight, I've
seen him a couple of times on one of Fox's shows.
Yeah, they had him on a few times. I think they stopped doing that show. They had him doing like a little like, here's what's happening this week in WWE on Fox, and it was on like Fox 1 or Fox Sports 1 or whatever. But then that was it. I think they canceled that show.
God, that was a crazy gamble for him to fight.
Yeah, I'm not real close with him. I mean, we got along. I didn't understand it. I know he had an issue with the company. And sometimes people just want to, they need a new challenge. But I mean, he was a top dude. He was a top guy for the company. Sometimes, like I said, I don't know enough because I wasn't around enough at that time. But I don't know that he had enough background. It was kind of late in the game, I think, for him to make that transition.
Yeah.
It was easier for Brock. Brock had that really strong wrestling pedigree.
Brock's also a crazy athlete.
He's a freak athlete.
Just crazy.
I mean,
you see his combine numbers?
Oh my God, it's
They're
ridiculous.
Bananas.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys that defy. He was 260 pounds, but his shot was like a 160. I mean, it was just. You can't believe somebody his size can move the way he can move.
No, he was a freak.
He was a freak athlete.
Yeah.
I used to call him the vanilla gorilla.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was just a freak dude. And so I just don't Punk. I don't know. I mean, if he just wanted the challenge, I mean, good for him. I mean, he tested it.
I think that's what it was. I mean, he had one. He fought Mickey Gall, and it didn't.
Mickey's a good,
very
good fighter and up and coming guy too. So,
And then he fought Michael Jackson, another guy afterwards, who was like a pretty solid striker.
Yeah, I mean, so you got kind of a tough draw.
Yeah, but the Michael Jackson fight, I'm telling you, that was like as easy a fight. No, I want to say easy a fight. But that was commensurate to someone who is 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, and Michael's much more experienced, but he wasn't terrifying.
Right.
It wasn't like he didn't put him in there with some guy who's going to kick his head off into the fifth row.
Right.
I mean, it was a good fight for him, but not really.
Yeah.
It wasn't. The guy's good. And he's just. I don't know what CM Punk's ultimate motivation and goal was, but I think he wanted to test himself. I think they paid him a lot of money.
I'm sure he did good buy numbers.
Yeah,
I bet.
I'm sure he got a piece of the pay-per-view or a really good deal. But I feel like if somebody wants to do something like that, if you really want to do it, what you should do is start as an amateur.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he has the time because I believe he's deep in his 30s by the time he had his first fight. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was late in the game, and
But if he wanted to do it, really, the right way is not just jump into the UFC. The right way is you do some amateur fights, maybe a Muay Thai smoker or two. Really learn how to do it, and it takes long fucking time.
Yeah,
long fucking time to get like real legitimate martial arts skills.
Anything. I mean, and it takes a long time to, be relevant with WWE. Anything you want to do and want to be good at, it takes a You don't do it in a couple of years. You got to take your lumps and you got to learn your craft.
It is interesting how few guys have jumped into the water though of actually having a real MMA fight.
Yeah. Well, I think now it's so specialized now. Now everybody's so good at jiu-jitsu, and everybody can stand up is good. Everybody can wrestle. Not like in the early days. Where you had, everybody had their specialty. You had your stand-up guys, and and then Gracie came along and fucked everything up.
What happened with Cain Velasquez? Cain Velasquez was working for the company for a little while.
I you know what? I saw him one day at the Performance Center. I was there working. I think I was getting ready for Mania.
He had that match with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and I thought, okay.
They messed that one up on the creative side. Is my big guess here. I mean, they had one sort of match, right? Him and Brock, sort of, and then they did this weird MMA thing where they tried to make the second one like MMA, and it was just a debacle.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really like one of the saddest things I've ever seen because they tried to make it like they were doing MMA in the wrestling ring. That's
tough to do.
Sense. Yeah.
I mean, even unless you go unless you go half shoot or full shoot, it's just hard to. It's hard.
People
to
don't
do
know
it.
what you're saying. Shoot, for folks who don't know, means a real fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So,
old school wrestlers terms.
oh yeah, I'm old school dude,
Yeah, I
man.
know you are.
That's all I got.
Kane, what's crazy is Kane is a big fan of pro wrestling, and he's got moves.
Yeah.
There's a video of him. You see the way he does that flying scissors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catches a guy in the wraps his legs around his head and then flips him.
And that's exactly what they should have done with him and Brock. They should have
Yeah.
had him learn a few cool moves like that.
Protect him and then
Yep.
let him
Yeah.
come along. It's funny. I remember going to a fight. It was in Vegas, and I run into Matt Hughes and his brother. They were huge wrestling fans, and they started showing me their moves, and like I think Matt was putting a body scissor on his brother. It was just, I think it's standing, right?
Right?
They were just like, "What do you think about this? What about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good. You got to fight." You got to fight. You got to fight in about an hour. You're worried about.
And he's trying out pro wrestling moves.
They're trying, and they want my opinion on
That's
them. I was like,
hilarious.
yeah, it was funny, but those were good dudes. And I remember, Pat Miletich. He used to invite me out to his place all the time. I was like, that's when I was on the road all the time. But all those guys, Tim Sylvia, all those guys are big wrestling fans.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mark, thank you very much for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
enjoyed
man.
it.
Yeah, I've
And
had a
thank
good
you,
time.
Tony. Cause,
Indeed, thank you guys.
You're the bomb. You're the gap, brother. You.
well, if there's ever a pro wrestling person on, I have to have Tony. It's
I was just here to lessen the testosterone in the room a little bit. You know what I mean?
Lessen it a little bit.
Needed to add some, what's it called, estrogen.
But hey, let me extend it. So we just announced for the next 3 years where our manias are at, right?
Okay.
So this year is going to be in Raymond James. Next year, 22 is going to be in Texas Stadium again.
Where's Raymond James?
That's in Tampa.
Okay.
That's going to be 21. But in 22, it's going to be in Dallas at Texas Stadium. You should come.
If I can?
I know you're not a wrestling fan. I know, but
I'll take acid and go. How about that?
I tell you, brother, I guarantee you.
Listen,
I guarantee you,
I
you'll
would-
have a good time.
I would go if I'm home, if I'm around. I never know where I'm at, especially in 2022. I hope 2022 you actually have like real
People,
audiences.
yeah, that's what.
Isn't that weird that you gotta? I would have imagined we would have real audiences by now. You kind of can still in Tampa. Is that why April it's in Tampa?
I think so. They just announced these yesterday. So we got the Royal Rumble coming up in 2 weeks. That kind of sets off WrestleMania season. But I promise you, fan or not a fan, you will have
I'm
a
sure.
good time.
I'm sure.
I've been telling him this
can you-
for years. Hopefully you get it through to him.
If I
Can
go
you
with
pull up
Tony,
a live shot of Texas Stadium? Just to give you a feel.
that's the one in Dallas, right?
Yeah, that's
they
where
wanted-
Cowboys play.
They wanted to do a UFC fight there. That's where Connor wanted to fight. I think he wanted to fight Khabib there.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I
Jerry
think he was
Jones?
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to do a UFC
Look at
fight
that.
there, which is just fucking bananas. Oh my god, that is so crazy.
105,000
Jesus Christ!
people.
Oh, that's so many people.
It's just,
Look at the size of that crowd. Oh my god,
That's the,
how big is fucking WrestleMania? That's
Dude.
crazy.
Huge.
That is crazy. When you look at that many people there for that,
They come
what a
from-
successful fucking event.
They come from 25 different countries. Just people all over the world. They come
That's
in
the
for
big
this.
one. That's the big.
This
event.
is our Super Bowl. This is yeah.
That's amazing.
I was supposed to go to my first one this year. I still have the ticket. Never got to use it for Tampa Bay. Was going to go in April. Was going to do shows in Florida and then have the Sunday off. I had it all planned out.
I tell you,
We're alive. We're alive. We can keep going.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank
Hey,
you very much, man.
thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure.
I
Thank you,
really
Tony.
appreciate it.
Thank you, young Jamie. Always. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you.